So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 edition of the annual political dialogue under the Initiative for Coal Regions in Transition. My name is Gregor Skender. I'm an energy attaché at the Slovenian Permanent Representation in Brussels, and I'll be steering us through these 2 days of this event. My official title is Master of Ceremony, so I'm particularly proud and happy to be given this title. Welcome to Velenje, to those of you attending in person. Also, a warm welcome to everyone that are attending this event online. I would just like to start off by mentioning that I have a little bit of a personal story with this region and with this city. I was involved in the early days into the discussions on the coal phase out and just transition in Velenje, and I have created a lot of very, very pleasant memories here in this region. One of the memories that definitely will always stay with me is the dimethyl sulfate smell in the air coming out of the ventilation shafts of the mine. But more importantly, I have gained a lot of friendships. I have experienced the hospitality and the kindness of the local people, and I'm sure those of you who are not acquainted with that will be able to do so in the next few days. I would like to start off with some housekeeping rules. I will give it one more minute for people to take their seats. So, a warm welcome again. Before deep diving into some guidelines on the technical issues, may I just say that I took the liberty to take the tie off. We are experiencing subtropical conditions right here, so I encourage all the gentlemen in the room to do the same, and I'm sure nobody will judge us for that. As far as some technical things go, we will have simultaneous interpretation into Czech, German, Polish, Spanish, Slovenian, and English available through the Interactio app. You can download that app if you haven't done so yet for both iOS and Android systems. And you can sign in using the credentials on the screen, APD 2024 for people attending here, and APD 2024 for the people attending online. Wi-Fi is available throughout the premises. The sign-in code for the Wi-Fi, the name of the Wi-Fi network is APD 2024, and the sign-in is APD 2024 exclamation marks. As far as questions and answer sessions go, those will be adequately announced. Please just raise your hand, and you will be given a microphone to raise your question. Unfortunately, there will be no questions for the online audience, so they will only be able to listen in to this event. Let me just briefly run you through the agenda for the day one. We will start with some opening remarks in a minute. We will then move on to a session dedicated to the 5 years of the Initiative for Coal Regions in Transition, where we will focus a little bit more on the industrial transition and the green transition in these regions. We will then launch the exhibition on brownfield development and revitalization, some of the examples you might have already seen outside of this room. We will continue with the discussion on the energy poverty, and with that, we will conclude the seated part of the day, followed by some site visits, and then at the end of the day, also a cocktail and dinner. And now, without further ado, I would like to start with some opening remarks. I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Maroš Šefčovič, Executive Vice President of the European Commission for the Green Deal, Interinstitutional Relations and Foresights. Mr. Šefčovič, the floor is yours. You can take the podium. Good morning.
Dear Minister, dear Alexander Jevšek, ladies and gentlemen, dear mayors, representatives of different regions and different countries. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here today in Slovenia, in Velenje, to attend another series, another round of annual political dialogue. Of course, I would like first and foremost to thank Mayor Dermol not only for organizing the beautiful weather for us, because we are coming from Brussels where there is a rainy season on the record, so we don't mind the sun, we don't mind the heat, because we really like it. And, and of course, it's always a pleasure to come to a town when you see the huge banner at the entrance to the city, which says that this is actually the EU Green Leaf city, upon which you could be very proud. And we, of course, are extremely happy that we could help you in that effort, and that you're really delivering for your citizens, for the citizens of the city, for the citizens of the country, and also of Europe, because this is exactly what we need to do in this very important transformation. In the December of the last year, I was representing the European Union in the first ever local action summit, the COP conference, which, as you know, is this biggest gathering to debate the climate challenges in Dubai. And I was extremely pleased that I saw that the local action summit, which was gathering the mayors, governors, regional representatives from the subnational levels from across the world, was one of the most attended events. And the reason was very simple, and I'm very glad that we are moving in that direction, because very often what we have to pay more attention to is how the governments, the central governments, can better work with regional authorities, with the mayors, to make sure that we will achieve the best possible result. Because if there is a flood, if there is a fire, mayor is the first one at which door the people are knocking. They are the first one to provide immediate assistance if the natural disaster struck. They are the people who decide about public transportation, about permits for the companies around the cities, and therefore I think this multi-level governance issue is extremely important. So therefore, once again, I would like to acknowledge our host, Mayor Dermol, but also Slovenian government, with whom we had very good discussions yesterday, and we will continue, of course, this morning with the Minister Jevšek after our discussion. If I look back, I cannot believe that it's only 7 years since the moment when we had, I would say, similar type of a debate in Katowice in Poland, where we've been struggling with finding the best answers, how to help the regions with very proud coal mining traditions, where you have generations and generations of the very hard-working, proud people working in the coal mines, and suddenly realizing that the future of the regions will look differently, that you need to develop different business models, you have to bring the investments, and you have to offer, especially the young generation, a healthier environment and new business opportunities to stay in the town and to develop the whole regions. And that was, I would say, the triggering moment which set into the motion what today we call the coal regions in transition initiatives. It was only 7 years ago, but clearly a lot has been accomplished, and I think that it's very important that we keep this initiative live and kicking, that we are delivering on the projects. And once again, thank you, Mayor, for displaying some of the banners in front of our hall, because you could see how we can really transform traditional coal mining regions in a modern hub of research, innovation, conference centers, bringing a new type of the businesses, creating new jobs, which are really in tune with what the 21st century economy expects from the cities and from the modern workforce. We've been all very much struck in the European Union when we have seen the devastating floods which struck Slovenia the last year. I think it was kind of very stark reminder to all of us in Europe, but I would say to everyone in the world, that what kind of crisis we are facing, what kind of consequences it has, what a human loss you can be faced with, and what are also the economic dangers and damages caused by this unpredictable weather disaster which are striking Europe more and more often. So altogether, in a couple of hours, you saw that there was a loss of life. There was estimated 9 billion euros of damage, which for Slovenia represent almost 16% of the GDP, which I think was one of the most severe consequences of any weather-related disaster in any of our European member states. And I have to tell you, when you in Slovenia have been grappling with how to respond better to this disaster, we from the Brussels have been doing our utmost to mobilize civil protection mechanisms to get you the first responders from all the neighbors, from all the EU, and almost at the same time, we've been triggering the same type of a rescue operation for Greece, where unprecedented fires started on the same day and almost at the same hour. Few hundred kilometers apart, huge flood, unprecedented fire, and this is unfortunately the Europe for which we have to prepare better, because as the statistics are proving right now, the Europe is overheating at twice the speed as the rest of the world. So we have to do better, we have to prepare well, but it also underlines why we need to continue down the path of the green transition towards sustainable future, because as we can see, it doesn't have any other alternative. But I think what is very clear, and what the citizens been telling us in the last European elections, they want to make sure that once we are talking about this transition, that it has to be fair and just, that it has to have very strong social components, that it must guarantee that we would leave no one, and I would underscore nowhere behind, that simply we have to combine the green and social in a way that it would be well understood and well appreciated by our citizens. And of course, here we would need to focus on how we can produce the energy in the most sustainable way, and how to combine all the new technologies which we had at our disposal. In this particular area, we had a very encouraging news at the beginning of this year, because when we did the last measurement, what is the composition of the European electricity mix? So for the first time, we can say that that almost 75% of our electricity production comes from low carbon sources, more than 50% from renewables, and almost 25% from the nuclear power. So if it comes to electricity mix, we are doing pretty well. But we also have to realize that if we want to be climate neutral by 2050, and nobody ever disputed this goal in all my contacts with business leaders or the citizens, we would need to have 3 times more electricity in our grids than we have today. So it's permanent task, and I think it's a challenge and a task for all of us to make sure that we will have good grids, good power generation, and that we will use all the measures we have to make sure that our consumption is as efficient as possible, be it at our households, in our apartments, in our homes, but also, of course, in the industry. And of course, it means that we have to help all the regions who are ready to gradually phase out the coal production and consumption of the fossil fuels. So coming back to that moment in Katowice in 2017, since that moment, we are currently supporting 31 coal, lignite, peat, and oil shale regions in 11 EU member states in their transition towards low carbon economies. And we are trying to do our utmost to make sure that the people and the communities are at its heart, and therefore we very much appreciate cooperation, not only with central governments, but with local authorities, with municipalities, and with mayors. In the meantime, this platform kind of developed into the very good place where you can exchange the best practices, learn from each other, and also give us the feedback in the European Commission, in the European Union, what we can do better. How can we streamline our programs? How can we fine-tune them to your needs? Because as I was chatting with the mayor, I mean, we know that still to get the funding, still to file all the papers is rather cumbersome, complicated, and we have to find a way how this will be more operational, how the help could come faster, and how the money could be spent much more efficiently. And here, this would be my first plea. We have around 19 billion euros for the Just Transition Fund for the regions. But so far, I would say the take-up of this money is just at the beginning. So please look at this possibility, check your projects, discuss it with us. We are there for you to make sure that you can make the best use of this money, present this project to us in the Commission, and let's make sure that we can really use the money well, because you need them, Europe needs them, planet needs the success of these projects, and we will be ready to work with you as closely as possible. I think there is also quite significant sum for Slovenia. It's well over 200 million euros. I discussed these opportunities with Slovenian ministers yesterday. As I said, we will continue this discussion with Minister Jevšek now. And I saw that there are plenty of great ideas in this city, in Velenje. Therefore, you got the award. But also in other parts of Slovenia. And usually the problems across the Europe are the same. We have a coal mine to which traditionally district heating was connected. And now you have to find a solution that if you gradually close down the coal mining production, what to do with the people from the job perspective, how to guarantee the heating for the rest of the city. But the good news is that this is common issue which was already resolved in one or another way. So there is also lots of inspiration, what can be done, how this would be addressed. And of course, the platform like we have today could be excellent tool to exchange the best practices, give each other the best advice, and also talk to us in the Commission. So we could be extremely helpful. So to conclude, I would like just to touch upon last point, which was also highlighted by our moderator. And this is the fact that through the last 5 years, we went through most probably the most challenging period since Second World War for the European Union. You remember very well how we've been locked in our apartments during the COVID-19. We remember very well in the Commission how challenging it was to channel all the financial support, adopt all the decisions on the state aid to make sure that our economy stays afloat. Once we dealt with that crisis and introduced this unprecedented new generation EU, which give EU, I would even call it like almost second budget. Suddenly, we've been hit by war in Ukraine, later on by this terrible conflict in Gaza, and huge spike in energy prices and big inflation. So clearly, this kind of make the concerns of the people living in Europe much higher than before. What would be the cost of living standards? Young people are asking, should I stay with the parents? Will we be able to address the issue of housing? How am I going to pay for electricity and the heat? Now, from one side, we are quite pleased that the energy prices went to the pre-war level, but I know that this is not the universally good answers, because still energy is much cheaper in US and in China. And if we want to compete with them, we have to work very hard to make energy prices cheaper. But it might be late for those people who have to pay the bills tomorrow. And therefore, I think we have to pay much more attention to the energy poverty, as you rightly pointed out, because if you look at the recent statistics, so in the last year, there was almost 11% of the Europeans who've been not able to keep their homes adequately warm, which was almost 7% increase comparing to the situation 7 years ago. So the problem is back again. We have to deal with it with social measures, with environmental measures, and to simply clearly demonstrate that we know that the problem is here and that we will do the best possible action and take care of the people who are faced with this challenge. We hope that very soon the Social Climate Fund, which we are creating in the EU, will be able to help us to address this issue, especially for the most vulnerable people, and that it would be put together the close cooperation with the governments who are working on their national energy and climate plans, which should show us how each and every member states want to deal with climate challenge, with all the goals we set together, but also address the issue of the energy poverty. So to conclude, I would repeat my plea and my request once again. We have almost 90 billion euros in the Just Transition Fund. This money are there for the good projects from the regions who are faced with the challenges of the coal transition. So far, the most of the money is still there. We are waiting for the good projects. We are waiting for the good ideas, and therefore, I hope that also through this appeal to you, we'll have a chance to visit more and more cities like Velenje, with very proud awards of EU Green Leaf cities, with a lot of projects, and which the money, which is very well spent. Thank you very much for your hospitality, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Šefčovič. You may take your seat. Thank you for your inspiring words. I might say realistic
Děkuji za
in Brussels. There, I think we're all aligned. I now invite to the stage Mr. Alexander Jevšek, Minister of Cohesion and Regional Development of Slovenia, for a short introductory address.
Dear Mr. Maroš Šefčovič, dear Mayor from Velenje, Mr. Peter Dermol, and dear mayors from other municipalities, state secretaries, and all participants of this event. Yes, 7 years ago, we also we decided in our region meeting how to solve the problem of coal regions where the coal mines were closed, how we could assure the future, and also make it clear to our parliament and commission to help in this region. We have here presidents of regions and mayors, and they feel exactly the crisis which is happening right now. And at that point, I could not imagine that I could be today as a minister here who is actively working together on the reconstruction of these coal regions. I'm very proud today to be here. So today's meeting is in the city of Velenje. This is the city. We as also other cities are facing conflicts and problems with green transition. But this is also a great opportunity for positive changes. Green transition is for Europe, Slovenia, very urgent, and we have to make sure that this transition in coal regions and in the cities as Velenje will be a chance for future generations, for good opportunities, for new jobs, and for good life in these cities. Slovenia has national strategy for coal, so we are planning according with this strategy, and this strategy has a lot of European funds included for these regions, for cities and people who are affected by this green transition. And for Slovenian region, for the both region, European Commission has confirmed plans for this just transition. We will have 250 million euro of funds from European Union. So Europe cohesion funds are not the only funds, but they are very important for the complete reconstruction of these coal regions. So at our Ministry for Cohesion and Regional Development, also together in collaboration with other communities, we are preparing two legislation for coal development. So we have two legislation for this part, for the region and also for the coal mine. We wanted to make this legislation finished by the end of this year. I am often saying that cohesion is not only money, it is also collaboration and connection of municipalities, public institutions, civil society. It is connection of people who have clear vision and who have knowledge. So this is the basic of successful stories. I am thanking here for to the European Commission who is helping us with this transition. And especially I would like, as also Vice President told, the big support of the European Commission to help us here. We had also floods here a year ago, and European Commission helped us here with funds for these floods. So Minister for Cohesion and my team will also be working with this fund. This is very important thing, and we are here united in Slovenia, and we also saw how important solidarity is in Europe, how important it is to protect our environment, how important it is to be together here, and how important it is to be European. So thank you again. So with this legislation, we have easier part for the projects where we receive funds from European Union. We are also warning because until 2026, it is very short deadline, and European Commission gave us step legislation. This is making us possible to have more time for the project, and we can have more quality in our results. I'm thanking everybody who is working in this just transition in our region and in the regions of Slovenia. So this is going through the development agencies in Slovenia, and we have here also two centers for just transition. They are connecting all the institutions and organizations in this area. This is a special partnership between state and the regions, and this is very necessary. We are learning, but the reactions of regions are very good. This is very good also outside from Slovenia. European Commission said that this is very good example of partnership. Dear guests, the green transition will leave no one behind. It will be modern direction to the future. It has to be our common result. We have to be connected inside of it. And this is why I'm very happy to be today here. So I have the chance to work with you, to listen to you, and also to learn from you. At the end, thank you very much for the organizers and European Commission and also the municipality of Velenje to prepare this interesting event for political dialogue of coal regions. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Gospod Jošek, hvala lepa. Thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you also for outlining briefly the policy developments at the national and European levels. Let's continue. I invite to the stage Mr. Miran Gajšek, State Secretary at the Ministry of Natural Resources and Spatial Planning of Slovenia. Pozdravljeni.
Spoštovani
dear Vice President from European Commission, Mr. Šefčovič, dear Minister Jevšek, Mr. Dermol, I am welcome you from Ministry of Natural Resources. I am starting with a statement that European Union has a lot of positive sides, and the countries together with European politics for development are using this. We have problem of sector politics. The Green Deal is not only sector politics, it is cohesion, it is not only sector politics. And this, what is today starting on a high level in Velenje with political dialogue, it's very important for European Union, for Republic of Slovenia, from Slovenian cities, for Slovenia, political dialogue. If we want that something happens in the state, in the time, we have two problems. First is political decision, that today you are here. It means that this is political decision from Brussels, from Ljubljana, completely clear. So all people who are today here working in the institutions, in the companies, I am sure that all experts will know how to give great output from this meeting in our region, Sasha, in Republic of Slovenia. We will have good result. I will not go into details of the problem of coal mining, but European Union started as European Commission for Steel in 1951. So this community, so this beginning, we have a special agreement from year 2052, and now our regions, they were the basis. At that time we produced steel. We have to transform ourselves, we have to transform this region. This is very important because this is real cohesion politics with concentration on this region, on the region of Sasha, and with concentration for a dialogue between special sectors, for sectors who are the basis of the green transition. I think another thing is very important here. It is important to find good dynamic, good balance, how much European Union can intervene here, how much can the state intervene, and we need a dynamic balance between these market forces, and this is where we have to be positive as society. In Slovenia, we have sometimes confusion when we speak about regions, but we have to be very detailed here. Region which we are talking about today is the region Sasha. But at the same time, these regions are coming later. We have West and East cohesion region in Slovenia, and another thing is very important. Territorium of Republic Slovenia is inside of these macro regions. We have Alp region, we have Central Europe. And what is our message today? We have to be very detailed about which territory we are speaking, where we will be making green transition, in which sectors do we have to transform. We have to be very detailed by the implementation of cohesion politics, social cohesion, territorial cohesion, and I'm sure we will have success here. I wish you good work today, good results today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Hvala lepa. Hvala lepa, gospod Gajšek. Thank you very much, and thank you for emphasizing the importance of being specific and concrete, both when it comes to regions and both when it comes to the sectors that we're addressing. Last but not least, I would like to invite Mr. Peter Dermol, Mayor of the host city of Velenje, for some introductory remarks.
Hello, and of course, kindly welcome here in Velenje. First of all, Velenje is the second most sunshiny city in Slovenia, so welcome into warm Velenje. A few words in English language. I would like to, of course, kindly welcome our main guests, our Vice President of the European Commission, Mr. Maroš Šefčovič. I would like to thank you very much because you are take our invitation and from me and also from our Ministry of the Cohesion and to accepted this invitation to organize this fifth political dialogue here in Velenje. Also, I would like to say thank you very much, Mr. Alexander Jevšek and Mr. Miran Gajšek for supporting us in this coal region, in this transformation. Now I will translate or transform my language from English to Slovenia because the Slovenia is national language and we are proud on our language. Torej, spoštovani gostje.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, it is again a great honor to be able to host you here in Velenje. As one of the representatives of the coal region, I can certainly claim and find that the coal regions can be very different from one another, that each coal region has its own specifics, each individual characteristics. And on the other hand, I am certain that all the coal regions that are in transition today and that are undergoing the Green Deal are trying to make sure that this process brings us to a situation where our citizens, based on the Green Deal, will be able to live a better lives, healthier lives, and more high quality lives. To reach all of that, we have to participate, all of us, with the European Union, on the one hand, with the local governments, on the other side, with the national politics, and we also have to include the social partners, the public, which lives in these areas. If the trust of the public in the process which we are undergoing today will be good, the process will be successful. If we don't have trust of the public, the path towards the successful transition will be more demanding. Velenje, almost 40 years ago, here in the center of our city, had the largest ecological protests in Slovenia in the 40 years. We've managed to change our environment to ensure that Velenje is nowadays one of the most beautiful, cleanest, and healthiest cities, not only in Slovenia, but also internationally. And this is a great success. And we've received 2 great awards, which we might not be aware of, but to be included into the mission of 100 climate neutral cities on the one hand, and on the other hand, what was said by the Vice President to be placed on the green list of the European Union. These are 2 titles which emphasize that we are not only recognized locally, but also internationally, and that our approaches aim to improve our environment despite the active coal mining which is still being implemented in the municipality of Velenje and in the region. And this is why we took restructuring of the coal region very seriously when the state decided that until the year 2030 we will phase out coal mining. We do not have a lot of time, but we have set very clear goals. First of them being that we will try to establish 5,000 new employment positions. Why 5,000? Because 5,000 positions are directly connected to coal mining in our region today. When we will lose these employment positions and we will not replace them with new positions, they will be lost. and our children will not have employment opportunities then. Second point, in the next couple of years, we will build 400 new apartments. Third, what was emphasized by Vice President, we will create a comprehensive heating solution. It is divided into several phases, and during restructuring, it will be the most demanding project as well. At this point, I would like to emphasize a challenge which was also seen in the media, and the fact is that the European Commission tackled these questions very seriously, questions related to the renewal of apartments, of public buildings, and private buildings as well. This is key to ensure that we reduce our energy consumption and that we optimize the consumption of energy on one hand and optimize heat sources which are important for our region on the other hand. And the last very important goal is that we do not only restructure the economy, but that we also restructure social subsystems. Why? Because with the new economy, with new opportunities, we are creating new demands in the field of education, health, tourism development, and other sectors as well. And this is why we want that in the process of restructuring and green transition, we want these segments to be taken into account and that local communities are supported in the future. How to reach all of these goals is certainly a demanding question, but we have very clear vision in this area as well. But we will require support by the state and by the European Commission. Adopting both act on the phasing out of coal regions and the restructuring of our region, and that I hope that we will have enough time for this process. It is not possible to restructure such region in very short time. We need enough time to do so. I can say that on behalf of other coal regions, that the initiative that the Fair Transition Fund is applied in the next time frame as well. It was also emphasized that this should be used for existing projects and the projects that we want to implement, and in the end, we will bring about additional mechanisms for the energy restructuring for new mechanisms, social climate fund, or other mechanisms that are planned by the European Commission. In any case, in this fair transition, we want to come out as victors, but not as victors as political actors, but victors as a society, which will bring about new opportunities for young people. That I hope that young people will see sense in this. I hope that they will remain in the region. They will live quality lives. This is the task of political decision makers, all of us who are present here today. And if we do our job in a dignified manner, we will gain trust by the public. And this is key to ensure that this process is successful. At the end, I would like to thank the European Commission. Since I've been vice mayor and mayor of the municipality of Velenje, I can say that the participation has been very good, very fruitful. We have excellent cooperation on a very high level, and I can say that the challenges and issues in the local communities were always heard by the Commission. And on the other hand, I would also like to thank the government of the Republic of Slovenia, the ministry, which is actively participating in the restructuring process. We are still going to be tackling many issues, but I'm certain that with common efforts, we will be successful not only in Velenje, in our region, but in our other coal regions as well. I'm certain that we will be successful if we participate, if we exchange our opinions, experience on political dialogues on other platforms which are organized in Europe. Thank you very much for your support, and again, welcome to Velenje.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dermol. It's exciting to hear how much progress has been made in the past few years. I also find it interesting to hear that Velenje is the second sunniest city in Slovenia. I would be curious to hear which one is the first, because it's not my home city of Ljubljana, but we can discuss this over a coffee break. It's time to start the first session. Mr. Šefčovič, I will kindly invite you to take the stage again. I will also invite you to help me out a little bit by gaining some efficiencies. We are running a little bit behind schedule, and we will be deep diving into the industries of the future in the coal regions. Please do make sure your Interactio app has been downloaded, because we will hear the diversity of the European languages in this course. Mr. Šefčovič, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much once again. As I was once reminded, the commissioner was never criticized where he or she spoke too shortly. So I will do the same here, because I know that what is ahead of us is very important, very interactive panels, and I think we have a lot to discuss. Of course, first we have quite ambitious goals ahead of us already for 2030. Secondly, we know that for accomplishing our Fit for 55 or other climate goal agendas, we need to mobilize a lot of funding and financing. And I think, as it was increasingly clear over the last couple of years, the clean tech, green tech, all these technologies are also the subject of the fiercest global competition. The China, United States are competing with us, not who would produce the better diesel engine cars, but who would be better with electric mobility, who will be able to store energy more efficiently, who will have better wind turbines, who can work with solar panels and solar energy better in the future. And of course, it has a lot of interaction with the digital technologies and aerospace, where you need a lot of interaction between all these segments, which require high skills, which require very specific critical raw materials. So the challenge is very, very, very complex. But of course, it boils down always to the good cooperation between EU, national governments, and the mayors, because we have to work with them extremely, extremely closely. And therefore, I think that it would be better to hear from those who are actually executing these plans on the ground. So now we have quite exciting panel ahead of us, and I will start by inviting to the stage first Mr. Jan Kříž, Director General of Czech Ministry of Environment, to give us the perspective of a country set firmly on the path to the transition, and then we will invite the rest of the panelists to the stage. So, Mr. Kříž, the floor is yours.
Dobré dopoledne.
Good morning. I will speak in Czech. Dear guests, dear Vice President, it is a great honor for me to be on behalf of Mr. Ladík, and thank you for opening this political dialogue in Velenje. This dialogue enables us to share best practices, but also gives us a direction on a very demanding journey which the transformation of region presents. Therefore, I'd like to thank the European Commission for enabling financial support for the regions. You can see that this support is really needed, and we are doing everything that is in our power to use it wisely. you have to, as you can see, carry on with this support in order to be successful in fulfilling our visions and the needs of the green transformation. So this is a question that has been opened, and I believe that we will have the opportunity to discuss it during this meeting. In order for the Green Deal to be successful and to contribute successfully to European economics, we will have to do it successfully as not to leave anybody behind. And therefore, we have started with an approach that is more locally oriented. And this is in local regions, you actually have things that need to be done. We have 3 co-regions in the Czech Republic, and we have engaged in a very close dialogue with local governments, and therefore we managed to prepare a tailor-made strategy and strategy that has become the basis of the program GTF. We have managed to ensure about 50% of allocation of the GTS funds. And each one of our regions is different, and we have been participating in strategic projects and supporting, for instance, small and medium-sized enterprises, schools, institutions, and non-governmental institutions. I would like to mention some projects just to give you an example, and these projects are already running. For instance, a project of purchase of hydrogen buses in Ústí nad Labem. This is there's a project of an infrastructure transformation in Karlovy Vary. And I'd like to mention a project of geothermal energy in the town of Litoměřice, where we're using thermal energy in the network, and also a project of Black Box, which is a digitalization of scientific library that will help further development of research in this region. We have further challenges, though, in order to carry out a successful transformation in the regions, and we need further tools to be implemented. In the Czech Republic, I think we have been very successful in using this fund for synergies and the transformation in their co-regions is being successful, mainly thanks to the Fund for Modernization, and we have successfully used solar panels, mainly in coal regions, and thanks to the Modernization Fund. And we need further targeted dialogue with our citizens. We need to help them to understand the importance and improve the image of the regions. And it is important to see future in a positive way.
Můžou tak využít.
So they can use the unique opportunity to introduce new technologies like hydrogen fuel or transition to the low coal or low carbon in technology, such as for the metallurgy or steel industry. Coal regions are also a perspective because there are many technicians, engineers who can be retrained for some other high specialized positions. We, however, should not miss this opportunity, otherwise our goals will be at risk. And the US are heavily investing into new technology, so let's do the same. An important challenge is to speed up the approvals for projects. And there are new initiatives of EU that could help, such as a Raw Material Act and others. This might make our programs more effective and faster, and also speed up the funding from the European Bank. As a conclusion, the Just Transition has launched some professions, some jobs that are only starting, actually very new jobs. The same applies to the Karlovy Declaration. We have discussed this before, and we can now discuss this further on. Also, one of the signatories of the declaration is also Mr. Dermot from the mayor of Velenje, and for the Ministry of Environment of the Czechia, or for the other countries. This is something that has been signed by many countries and regions of the European Union. I believe it's our responsibility to look for the best ways to overcome the challenges that we have in the just transition. That's why we have discussed this and addressed this to the ministries of Interior and of the environment to help with the best development of the coal regions. We need for these coal regions to have the best conditions and terms to help them the smooth transition into the carbon neutral economy. Thank you very much.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne pánovi
very much to Mr. Kříž. This was that's what I was speaking in Slovak this time.
Thank you for your kind words about the mutual work and support. I think it was very inspiring to listen to you about the specially developed strategy, how to tackle the challenges of decarbonization, good use of modernization funds. I think that's a good advice for all the member states who have access to the modernization fund, but also very impressive buildup of photovoltaic solar power to the level of 1.7 gigawatts, which is quite impressive. And indeed, two issues which are extremely challenging for any member states, for any regions, and this is how to work better on public acceptance of this project, how to transform this NIMBY, not in my neighborhood, into PIMBY, please in my neighborhood, and of course, what to do to make sure that we will have much more accelerated and simplified permitting procedures, which can be only done if the EU national level and regional level would work well together. So I think that we will hear more about all these good projects, challenges, suggestions, and if you allow me, I would just like to ask to join me on the floor, Mr. Srečko Durov, the State Secretary of Slovenia, Ministry of Cohesion and Regional Development. He's coming. Then we will have reinforcement from Czech Republic, Petr Kulhánek, Governor of Karlovy Vary in Czechia. And if you allow, also I would like to invite to the podium Madam Barbara Mayer, State Secretary of the Ministry of Regional Development of Saxony in Germany. And I understand that Madam Rogeni Guterres cannot join us because I think there were some travel complications on her way over here. But I think we have very good panel, and I would say that Madam Mayor came last to the podium, so it means that we can address her first because she's the only lady on the podium, and I know that she has a lot of experience with all these projects which been discussed. If you allow, Madam Mary, I would like to ask you about your experience, how to ensure the stable, competitive energy sources, especially after a phase out of the coal, which is of course always very complicated. And I know that you also developed quite impressive strategies. If you can share also your experience, how efficiently you've been executing it, what was the return time, how much time is needed, and how the people in the region appreciate it.
Vielen Dank für die Frage und vielen Dank, dass ich
Thank you very much for this question. Thank you for giving me the first word. I am Secretary of State in the Ministry of Saxony for urban planning and for the energy transformation in the region. In Saxony, we have two regions that have been phasing out coal energy. The regions around Leipzig, and the second area is the Lausitz region. We deliver even when we are not in a mandate for the energy policy. We nevertheless, since the energy policy is mainly decided at the federal level, but nevertheless, we're very implied in the transformation in the region. And we also, in the future, for our industry and for our inhabitants, want to have affordable, sure, and green compatible energy supplies, which means we need power and heat. That's why we work on the new renewable energy, photovoltaic and wind energy, and the storage of energy, and of course the implementation of networks in order so that this energy, and of course so that the CO2 less reduced energy can be delivered to the consumers. A very important brick for the energy security is the green hydrogen, and one of our important objectives that we achieve until 2030 to set up a hydrogen value chain, to implement a hydrogen value chain. What we have done is within the government, we have organized a task force. We've set up a task force with the aim based on this and the planning process. We want to accelerate this planning and also to improve the acceptation and the ownership for renewable energies, for the development of renewable energies in our land. For this, we have set up a certain number of legislation in order to facilitate the planning. For example, we have passed through our local parliament that 2% of the land surface as a potential surface for wind energy 2027 will be can be designated. We have a certain number of directives which we have entwickelt in order to achieve that the emission administrations in our companies approve and certify new wind installation, but at the same time protect the birds, the bats, and the environment in overall. So here the federal government has helped us because they have passed a law for renewable energies, and they have concluded that the development of renewable energies is of a high safety interest, a national safety interest for Germany. So a very important other point for us is also the fact that the public acceptance, that people do not protest when the wind parks are built in their vicinity. And for this, we set on 3 points. First of all, information, dialogue, and local participation of the population. And at the same time, also on added value and participation. Just before the summer holidays, which has just started in Saxony, we have passed a law in the local parliament that allows urban centers and cities, when wind farms are built on their territorium, that they actually can tax this in order to receive money in their local budget, in order to have money to also finance other activities in the communal circles. So in order to meet the requirements of energy stability, we use the possibilities that we have at the national level, but also at European level, the fundings. We rely on this, and for us, the GTF is extremely important for us, and it has allowed us at what the national support has not been able to do, is to support companies, which we can't do at the EU level, and we have achieved that we could also facilitate and support major companies, so big companies, big energy producing companies that like we have in Saxony, BFAC or 1 Energie. They want to continue to generate renewable energies. They have a transformational process in front of them, and this transformation can be supported with the help of the European Commission. Sadly, I would like to say we're not yet there in our discussion with the companies as far as what needs to be subsidized or not. For us, the GTF is a very important brick and tool, and we really would like to use it in the future. It has also allowed us that we could support small SMEs in the region in their transformation, and it helps us also to support new projects. Like, for instance, we have a business angel program that we have implemented so that we can have the funds, more private funds to support SMEs and to implement and to install and to attract SMEs that then will lead climate neutral projects.
Description, I had the opportunity to visit Lausitz. I saw that you also use a very innovative approach to kind of fill the former coal mining trend with the water, create a lake, create a very beautiful, I would say, recreational touristic area. Nobody would ever guess that was the coal region before. Plus, we've been working very closely with your regional government and federal government also to make sure they would have really state-of-the-art technology, and some of the cutting-edge companies are coming to Lausitz, to Saxony, and really are kind of making this transition from coal, from black into the super new green type of the economy. And I think that's excellent example. So thank you very much for that description. So now I would turn to my left to Mr. Kulhanek, and he was leading also the efforts when the so-called Karlovy Vary statement was being prepared. At that time, it was signed by 22 governors of coal and other regions in transition. And I think that you also been very much focusing not only how to bring the new investment, but how to transform the old industrial coal mining areas into the recreational, nice, good-looking facility. So I would pass the floor to you, Mr. Governor.
Thank you very much. Thank everybody. I'm very happy to see so many faces which we have seen last year in Karlovy Vary on APD. So thank you very much to Velenje for your invitation. Yes, the Karlovy Vary statement is for us now a strategic document, and I think not only for us as Karlovy Vary region, but for coal plus regions as well. Well, the proof is that we have 22 signatories from 11 countries, and this document now is signed, but it's not definitely the end. It's the beginning of handling this document on all respective forums and levels we can use it. It was already debated on European Commission, Environment Commission in spring with very positive resonation. It was last month in June debated on the Committee of Regions with also very positive feedback. And why actually the document is so important for us, because we started preparing the transition of region in 2020. And now we are in the stage of successfully developed and proved strategic projects and other projects co-financed by the JTF money. However, we already know that till 2027, the transition will not be finished. It will still be in a process. And I think the focus of European Union on our regions affected by structurally and economically should continue even beyond 2027. And on that topic is actually the Karlovy statement, which is calling the European authorities to continue this support because the social economic scissors are still open. The gap is decreasing. However, till 2027, we will still not be on the level of, let's say, European average or the more developed regions of Europe. That's why we think that the statement should be the tool of opening debate to how to set the JTF2 with continuous support for our regions.
Thank you very much, not only for the statement and the vision which you projected into it, but also for highlighting that transition projects are very often the projects of the one political generation. So you cannot do it in 2-3 years. So it takes a lot of time. And I think it's also, I see that there are quite a few very important colleagues from the European Commissions who are working on these files. And we all know that already the next year, I mean, we'll start to draft the proposal for the next 7 years budget, which is called in Brussels language, the multi-annual financial perspective. And I'm sure that I would say, new industrial deal, continuation of tackling the climate change, and all the priorities of leveling up the divergences which we still have in the EU will be the priorities for us. I mean, so we'll prepare, I'm sure, a very good project and proposal for our member states, and then I think we will need support of all of you to kind of convince our leaders, head of states and government, ministers of finance, which is sometimes even more complicated, to make sure that we would have a good budget for the next 7 years, because in this really geopolitically tense time with this huge competition, Europe needs to be properly equipped to deal with the challenges. So thank you very much, Governor, and we can before we go to Mr. Duro, we can still stay for a while in Czech Republic, and I would like to ask Mr. Kříž about I would say the role he sees in this transformation of what you've been already hinting in your introductory remarks, technological innovation, new, I would say, technological approaches to smooth further the transition, which is, of course, challenging for every single region. So the floor is yours, Mr. Kříž.
Thank you very much. I said before, technological transfer and support of innovation in technology as absolutely crucial to safeguard the competitiveness, the Europe and also our core regions. What we do in the Czech Republic to do such support, it clearly starts from the education level. It means that equipment in secondary level of schools, in universities, investment in research and development is very important. So that's why we have opened some thematic calls for equipment in secondary schools in our core regions to really generate the students, the qualified personnel that in the future may be included, involved in innovative SMEs and other industry. This is the one key condition to, let's say, generate in the future new technologies. One of the issues is also to communicate with the regions. I think that our best practice is to really prepare such programs that are fit to the needs of the regions. For instance, in Ústecký region, we have prepared a call for support of research and development, but respecting the niche, the special needs of the region, like chemical industry, like other sectors. And these thematic calls focused on research and development will help of transferring some technologies into practice in this region. And the third condition is really to create a good environment for state aid, for public procurement, to really enable that these new companies, new technologies are properly tendered in the public procurement procedures. And this is also the issue of the Net Zero Industry Act that really boosting the new technology is very supported by this new initiative. So we try to do that. I also would like to mention innovative vouchers that innovative companies could come and ask for some bonuses, some support to let's say be more digitalized and to invest more in research and development. And this is a key part of our transition. I would like to say that it's very important to have it in our portfolio, not just to do some energy transition and land restoration, but also to very focus on this agenda, new technologies, green technologies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Křiž. You're absolutely right that without new technologies and without innovation and also without, I would say, bigger embrace and welcome of these new technologies by our population, the transition would be extremely complicated. So your idea about innovative future is, I think, an excellent one. I think we should kind of learn how this could be applied across the Europe. I came across also with quite interesting idea in France because we, of course, these days are discussing a lot electric vehicles, e-mobility, how to make them more appealing to the consumers, to our citizens, and the idea that if you are at certain vulnerable bracket of the society, so you can benefit from so-called social leasing, and if I understand the scheme correctly, so for 100 euros per month, you can lease the small electric vehicle, which helps, of course, the manufacturers from Europe. It helps the people to, let's say, get the mobility, and it's kind of pushes us all to improve and roll out the necessary infrastructure much faster than otherwise would be necessary. But back to Slovenia, to Mr. Durov, because I know that you've been very instrumental in developing different impressive projects, bringing in the future-proof industries, working on the diversification of different technologies here in this region or in Slovenia. So if you can maybe share your experience, what was the best approach, and if you can name some of the examples about which you are the most proud.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to this political dialogue from the Ministry of Cohesion and Regional Development, and thank you for giving me the floor. Green transition is unavoidable. It is a fact. This applies to Europe, to Slovenia, and to the region Saška. In this part, we have an advantage because we've had some experience from the transition of the region Zasavje. I might remind you, in the year 2000, we had an act of the phasing out of the coal in Zasauye to create a more advanced region. In 2014, the coal was closed, and in 2014, the plant, the Bolia, was also closed. If we go back to the past, we can see that despite all of the measures which were implemented, certain jobs were lost forever. Certain part of employed people looked for jobs outside of the region, Zasauye, and certain part of the people moved out of the region as well. And this is something that we do not want to happen in the region Sasha. And this is why we have to use this experience to get some new knowledge. I can sum them up into 3 points. First of all, green transition brings stress into the region. And this is why it is key that we have an open, constant communication of all political decision makers in all political levels with all stakeholders. Disinformation, wrong information can be a great danger for a fair transition. Second, despite the amount of funds intended for individual measures, a fair transition will not be possible if the funds are not focused into certain measures, specific measures, which will make sure that no one is left behind. And third point, to get to the right measures, we are certain that it is key that they are made from bottom-up approach. It would be wrong if we come to the region Sasha and would tell you which measures should be implemented. But I believe that in connection to you with the Center for the Fair Transition, which I have to praise, I have to emphasize that they are an exceptional bridge between all the stakeholders in the region and the public institutions, that we listen to you and that we take the measures, the correct measures, which will give the best results, which are required to ensure that the region will offer high quality ways of life and standards of life. The region Sasha is on a division point. In the past, we were focused on coal, and now we are focusing on green, clean technologies and carbon neutral technologies, taking into account all the technologies in the past. The new legislation on the EU level connected to the Green Deal, all the adopted strategies, national legislation, we come to the conclusion that the region Sasha is very successful in using the opportunities that it has for restructuring. Ministry of Cohesion and Regional Development, with the Fair Transition Fund, has issued almost half of the funds available for the region of Sasha, and I'm certain that more will follow. Areas where we are implementing restructurings are those which will give the best possible results. This is the transformation of the energy system from coal to cleaner technologies, a focus on human resources, strengthening of new knowledges which will allow for new employment opportunities with high added value, discussions with the state as to what to do with the existing infrastructure, which was part of the coal activities, how to make sure that it will serve the region, that it will not be a burden to the region, investments into the economy, development and research, business incubators. All of this gives new employment opportunities. And as the last point, which is also very important, the neighboring municipality has done that as well, are investments into the environment to make sure it's more healthy, it's more green than it is at the moment. Fair Transition Fund is an important pillar that allows the Sasha region a transition in a fair manner, but the state has not forgotten of all of the challenges that the region will have to face, and this is why the Ministry of Natural Resources is preparing 2 acts. One is the act of the phasing out of the coal, and the second is the improvement of the region Sasha, which sets out measures and funds for the region. If I sum it up, our goal is not only to achieve the Green Deal, but our goal is to achieve a Green Deal which is fair for everyone, so that we can look back in 20 years and see that in our transition from coal to green technologies, we were able to ensure a higher quality lives for the people, more jobs, a healthier life, and an additional development of the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you see that your steps been very much appreciated. So that's always good to note such a positive feedback. You've been highlighting the importance of new skills, new quality human resources, repurposing of the existing infrastructure for the new goals in the future, and making sure that the green transition ends up in a green but fair deal, because this brings back the people, it creates healthy environment, which is of course also more attractive for the investors. And Madam Mayor, I think you've been faced with the same experience over the last 5 years. So from your perspective, if you be so kind and give us a couple of policy recommendations which would make sure that we can achieve the goals as they've been highlighted by Srečko, to make successful and fair transition for these regions. What would be your best advice you could give us?
Vielen Dank nochmal.
Thank you very much. Well, our most important objective is to be competitive in our industry. And currently, this is something that we have in common. As of the 90s, we are in a transition phase. First of all, our industries, our economy went from a plan economy to a market economy. And now we are talking about the green transformation. So what have we learned from that? What have we learned from our first transition? We learned that we always have to make sure, we always have to have look at the new technologies. And the question is where these technologies come from. On one side, we have to develop them ourselves, and then with that, we can create opportunities for the regions and for the change of our regions. This is why we invest a lot in research and development, in order to create a transition, a transformation for the already existing companies, but also for new companies in the region. An important measure for us is the instrument of the European Commission, the IPCI, which, among other, helps us to create a value creation that had been gone to Asia, for example, to bring it back. And in that manner, in that fashion, we can close our value chains that we had in Europe, that we used to have in Europe, but we didn't have anymore, but that we need. For example, in microelectronics, the investments that we have for Intel in Magdeburg and also in Wrocław, but also the investments of ESMC in Dresden. These are lighthouse investments that have a high potential for the supplier industry and who can benefit from that. And we also hope that through these investments in Dresden and in Breslau, that, for example, in the Lausitz region, that we will also be able to establish a small supplier cluster. This is something that we are planning for. We are very professional education is very important for us. Training is important for us in order to be prepared for the new challenges of a different industry, and to make sure that we have enough qualified workers. For the Lausitz area, this is similar to what I've heard here in this discussion. In the 90s, many people left this area and they won't come back, which means that as for we have to make this area more attractive as for employment,
in order to attract new people to this area, to this region. And this is why we are also this is why we want to make sure that this region becomes interesting. That means we have we need good health sector, health services, good schools, kindergartens, but also tourism is an important point, because normally where tourists go, this is a nice place to live, and this is something that is important for us. So we need time, and in order to develop all these new things, and in order to we need cohesion and communication from the European Commission, from the federal government, from the regional governments, and also from the local governments that have to be involved from the very early stage. And we are also planning our measures in combination, in coordination with the municipalities. And for us as Saxony, we have a huge border to the Czech Republic and to Poland. I think that in the future it will become more important to have this exchange regarding best practices, and also about technically open-minded solutions. And I'm looking forward to the exposition. I just had a glimpse, and I saw that there is a very interesting project in Sicily. This deep thermal geology is not something that we have been looking at in Germany, but that might be a huge potential for our country, specifically for heating in the urban areas and to make them more climate neutral.
Thank you very much, Barbara. I would just highlight again skills. I think all of our participants and all our panelists highlighted how important it is to focus on a good education, to teach our kids, our students, especially the sciences, the topics, the specializations, which this new economy of 21st century needs, and how to adjust our curriculum to that new challenges. And then, of course, a value chain approach to cover as much of a value chain, and to make sure that these value chains are building as much value added as possible here in the European Union, because I think the one very important lessons we learned in the past is that we cannot outsource clean tech, green tech, our transition to anyone else. It has to be made in Europe, and it has to be done by European technologies, because they're simply too strategic, too important for the future. Barbara was also referring to IPCEI, which is another Brussels expression, and under this abbreviation, what is hidden, it's the name of important projects of the common European interest. It means that by this way, we're trying together, member states, Commission, and very often regional level, to offer the state aid in exchange for big private investment, so we can pull off bigger investment projects like in microelectronics, in batteries, in hydrogen technologies, simply where we feel that the market is not performing, where we have a gap on the market, and when we need to, I would say, kickstart the use and development of these new technologies. So we are using this in the past. I was involved from the beginning in the development of the battery value chain across the Europe, and I can say that this IPCEI approach works because we started with something like, if I recall, 16 billion of the state aid in the two IPCEIs round. In the end, it brought us 190 billion euros of the private investment, and everything was going extremely smoothly until Inflation Reduction Act came in, surprised us, and therefore I think we would need to adjust also our policy how to deal with it. But a lot has to do with, I would say, presenting the projects to the people, with the political leaderships on all levels, on being open, engaging with the citizens, with the business community. And I know that Governor Kulhanek has a lot of experience in that regard. So I would pass the floor to him. And then I'm glad that we have also with us Viktor Horvat, who is the Deputy State Secretary representing Hungarian presidency. So maybe to close off the panels, then I would ask after the intervention of the governor, Mr. Horvat. But please, Mr. Kulhanek, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I think the political leadership and coordination in the transition of the regions is a crucial role. Maybe I mentioned that we are just after European or Parliament elections. In our case of the Czech Republic, we are just very close to the regional elections in September. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that the transition should be processed, developed, planned, and provided regardless to the political changes on a regional or European level. Therefore, our approach from the very beginning was also with the approach that the plans of the transition of the region should not be affected of any future change in the regional leadership. In our region, the open debate with all stakeholders is extremely important because the transition of the region enters literally every sector in the region, because our transition is not only to convert the area where coal was mined into something else. Our transition goes to the social, economical, cultural areas because the region in 10 or 15 years is standing on two main pillars. The new approach to the industry with high added value and a high share of innovations and friendly to the environment. And the second pillar is the very traditional sector, which is tourism and spa industry. Because the portfolio of the local economy should be really divided into two pillars. And the transition projects, even connected with the coal mining, is based on, for example, innovation in the balneology. Mr. Krish mentioned it in the very beginning. The Center of Spa and Balneology is a strategic project which should raise the position on the market of our regional spa towns, and therefore be really the leader of European spa industry and contribute to local economy. So the discussion on all levels with the stakeholders like the private sector, with any other authorities, and continues explaining people what is the transition, what is at the end of the transition, what is the process of the transition, and what are the benefits which the transition brings to the people who either works or live or both in the region, is extremely important to be successful.
Thank you very much. So we have a few minutes left before I would pass the floor to the State Secretary Horvat. I don't know if we have any questions from the audience, any questions from the floor. So I see the lady over here. Hopefully we'll get the microphone, or you have a powerful voice. So there are only two solutions, but the lady is running to help you with the microphone.
So my name is Rumiana Grozeva. I'm coming from Bulgaria, Staro-Zagora region, the biggest region in transition in Bulgaria. Regional Economic Development Agency, very active in the just transition field, etc. Thank you so much for your inspiring speeches and opinions sharing and experience, etc. My question is, we're talking about projects which shall be funded in order this transition to be just to bring more added value for the regions, for people, for citizens, for local authorities, etc. But there is very big discrepancy between what the Commission always promising that the bureaucracy will be less in reporting. At the same time, starting implementation, the bureaucracy is going more and more and more because of the national governments or regional governments, etc. And actually, our efforts are focused on reporting, not implementing. At the same time, this so heavy bureaucracy is considering as a barrier by the businesses, by the citizens, for example, for energy efficiency measures introduction in the buildings. Is there any mechanism that shall be elaborated to be more effective in implementation but not reporting? Please say yes. For all of us.
And you also got a lot of support in the room, as I see. No. So I have to tell you, I have to respond to you yes, of course. But I mean, I just would like to ask if there is any other question, and we can then answer them together before I will pass the floor to State Secretary. No, so I don't see. So Mr. State Secretary, get ready, and I'll try to answer our Bulgarian colleague. And I'm quite happy that, of course, I have my colleagues here from the DG Energy, from the DG Regia, and I can tell you that we are getting quite a lot of criticism if it comes to the complexity, very often bureaucracy linked with execution of the project and with also spending of the EU money. To tell you the truth, it's quite difficult for us from the two sides, because from one side, of course, we are appealing to you, please, look at how much money is there left, prepare the Goose project, invest, because of course, when we are discussing the issues like the 7 years budget, our strongest argument, especially to the countries who are the net contributors, is, look, I mean, your money was well spent. There was no corruption that went into the project to really transform the economy, and collectively our economy got stronger because, I mean, we are really improving the competitiveness and productivity of the regions which been lagging behind. And of course, if we cannot then demonstrate it with the concrete projects, with the level of execution of the projects, so this argument, of course, is not as strong as you would like to have it. The same, what you told me, we hear, of course, a lot from the industry, from the farmers. So there are two concrete initiatives which are taking place right now. The first one is that we focus a lot on reducing the administrative burden of our legislation. How it works is that we are dealing with the issues at hand, making sure that when we are preparing the new legislative proposals that we introduce, I would say, the new level of screening through our regulatory scrutiny board, how complicated this would be, what would be, I would say, the costs linked with applying, I would say, this legislation. And at the same time, we are working very hard with our desk officers to have a different angle when they are drafting their proposals, that we not always need the legal perfection, but we need the balanced approach which would make this project executable, where you do not need to hire dozens or hundreds of compliance officers to make sure that this legislation could be actually implemented. Then our President, Ursula von der Leyen, undertook very clear commitment that we would reduce administrative burden by 25%, especially in reporting area by the end of this year. There is, I'm also responsible for the Commission work program. So this year, of course, it's a year of the transition, but it has usually 4 parts, the Commission work program, what we are going to do the next, where we are kind of overlaying the projects from the last year, what we want to scrap and what we want to amend. So this time, the list of the legislation which we wanted to simplify or get rid of, or simply to have strong focus on, was the longest part of the Commission work program. Concretely, 41 very concrete actions was there. But where we need your help, and that would be my second plea after, please work on the project. My second plea would be as concrete as you could be with us. And that's my message also to our industrial stakeholders. Some of them, I understand, we are going to meet over the lunch break. because you are on the ground, you know which measures are the most cumbersome, more difficult for you, and we, my colleagues at the services, but also we on the political level, needs to hear them. So we opened a special window at our Secretariat General, which is such a horizontal service, to get the concrete feedback from the field, from the ground, on what we should focus, where we need to kind of make it simpler and easier for you to execute the project. And then, of course, you have to help us with the national and regional government, because I do not want to dwell on gold plating. You know, it exists. I know it from my own country, from Slovakia, that sometimes we want to be so perfect that even perfect proposal from Brussels, we make even more sophisticated, very often more complicated, and this very often drags the execution of the project. Then you have the compilation of reporting, complex public procurement, all the environmental studies. So very often you need to have strong stamina, determination, and leadership to go for these project executions, because you see how many obstacles is ahead of you, and therefore I understand you think twice before going for that project. So therefore, I think I just want to know that we know it, we feel it, the criticism is coming from different sectors, and we also need the help from your side to tell us what concretely, in which legislation or in which reporting rule is making your life difficult, so we can deal with the challenge. So thank you very much for bringing up that point. And now I would pass the floor, if you agree, to Mr. Viktor Horvat, who is representing Hungarian presidency. Pass him the floor, and this would be the closing speech of our first panel. So thank you very much, Mr. State Secretary. Please.
Mr. Vice President, dear ministers, state secretaries, dear governor, it is quite a big pleasure for me to be here together with you during these discussions. May I start with an introductory remark? We are speaking a lot, I would say, about the challenges of these regions, Core Plus regions, but we are talking not too much about the strengths of these regions. Nevertheless, they have got a quite deep and quite rich industrial, technological heritage, and they have got well-educated workforce in these regions. So these are the strengths on which we can build. And the question is how we can make these regions great again, as they were great before decades ago or centuries ago. They were the economic forces, and not just the economic forces of the countries, but also the innovation centers of the countries. Just think about not just the mining procedures, but also about industrial innovations which were born in these regions. During the panel discussion, we have heard a lot, quite a big variety of policy tools, how we can make the transition a success. I would say this policy tools covers the whole governance issue. It began with the utilizing cleaner energy sources, for example, what we heard not just from Saxony, but that was an important issue from Saxony. We have heard nearly from all of the regions how we can enhance the technological innovation, and not just the technological one, but also the innovation in the spa or in the tourist field. We have heard a lot about how we can diversify the local industry by, I would say, switching from gray and black industry to a green one. But nevertheless, this is an industry, and this is also the aspect which I mentioned beforehand. For the industry, you need well-educated workforce. So it's very important to keep this workforce in these regions. And that was also an important issue that was brought, I would say, also from all of the participants, how we can provide a livable environment for the people who would like to stay and work for their home regions. Here we have heard a couple of issues about skills, education, health, and so on. The first results are touchable, I would say, also at European level. Since the beginning of the initiative in 2018, in the last 4 years up until 2022, the core consumption at EU level dropped by around 25%. That means in 4 years by 25%. And these results are coming from these special regions. We could also use the insights of these regions in what the European Union as such faces nowadays, and that's the competitiveness issue, the competitiveness challenge. The adoption of the Fit for 55 regulation package and the Net Zero Industry Act are a first step to create the conditions for sustainable growth and greening our economy. In order to boost our competitiveness, we have a lot to do in economic policy, energy policy, education policy, and I would also count, I would say, all of the policy fields that a governance covers. But what we can learn from these regions is that with a constructive attitude and a collaborative approach like today's conversation, discussions, we will be able to steadily advance towards our goals, not just in greening the economy, but also making it competitive, more competitive than it is today. So for this, I wish you fruitful conversations for the today's meeting and for tomorrow's meeting, and also for European level discussions on how we can make more competitive the continent. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. State Secretary, for your closing speech. Good luck with the presidency. And I also would like to thank you, the audience, for being so supportive, engaging, for the good questions we got. And also I'd like to thank my fellow panelists for, I think, very good discussion with lots of concrete examples, suggestions, what we have to do if we want to accomplish even more successes in this very important endeavor. Thank you very much. And now I will hand the floor to the professional moderator again. Thank you very much.
Panelists, I kindly ask you to take your seats. And thank you, Mr. Šefčovič, for the title of a professional moderator. Very much appreciated. Before we deep dive into the next quick introductory session, I think we will see it on the slide, but I would just like to draw your attention to the fact that we have an artist making a little bit of a graphic representation of the discussions and the events taking place during the next 2 days. You see the, let's say, intermediary result here on the screen, and we will see more of that as we go along, as we proceed with our event, and we will also have the possibility to comment on this work of art. And indeed, before now and the coffee break, we have a short introductory session happening. Mrs. Mayer already mentioned the panels with some examples of best practices from coal regions in transition just outside. We'll have 3 short interventions announcing the exhibition. And I would first like to invite to the stage again Mr. Gajšek for a few words about the exhibition. Mr. Gajšek, the floor is yours.
Before I was speaking in Slovenian, now I will continue in English, if you allow me. So what is important for us, it's, would you be so kind and give, bi lahko date prejšnji slide, the brown.
Could you show the previous slide, please? If possible. Yes, this one.
What is the most important? Brownfield industrial infrastructure and local and coal mines converted into business districts, energy sites and places of cultural significance. Čudovito. Se pravi, to je ravno to, kar delamo. Gre se za regeneracijo, it is regeneration, and what is important is it is possible to combine the funds, the funding. Vice President of European Commission, Maroš Šefčovič, told us before that the negotiation with the ministries of finance is not easy. Believe or not, one of my colleague sent to me the message that our project has a huge problem with the Ministry of Finance. This is problem. But what I would like to say is that we have to put together as much as possible funding from Brussels, from the cohesion policy. At the moment in the Republic of Slovenia, we are changing a little bit the operation program, and we are changing our agreement how to develop regions in the mid-time of the programming period 2021-2027. This is first. Second, our government already adopted the budget for 2025 and 2026, and our government has the mandate until the May 2026. So this is the second source, integral budget. And we are preparing two laws, two legislation of the conversion of the region Sasha from brownfield development into the business districts and so on, and cultural places of cultural significance, and the region and the law how to close the coal mine Velenje. And it's not an easy job how to put into the common denominator the different budgets, so co-funding, this is first, and second, how we'll prepare the projects. Vice President Šefčovič also answered to the one lady from the audience. Let's prepare the projects. Yes, but those projects has to be cross-sectoral, has to be very good for that. And I will repeat, the cohesion policy of the European Union has to be the project of the economic cohesion, of the social cohesion, and of the territorial cohesion. And this is really important. So which tools, which instruments can we use? As I understand, the Vice President Šefčovič has the mandate for the foresight. Foresight is important. Programming is important. Planning is important. My responsibility is spatial planning, urban planning, and we are now starting also with the regional strategic plans for the big region. 12 of us, 12 regions we will have we have in Slovenia, and we have to put. We will put also the region Sasha in these spatial development programs, and also the projects like third development axis, which is extremely important. I don't know how did you came to Velenje, but the road is the same as it was in 60s, so it's not good, it's bad, and we are now so we are preparing and we are construction the third development axis, and in one lake it will be the solar panels on the lake, one of the 4 lakes in the Šaleška Dolina. So my message will be: we need intersectoral coordination. Our ministry is in charge for the spatial planning, for the spatial development. We will help to you. We have to help to you. We know how we will do this. This is first. We have to prepare the projects, which will be the cross-sectoral projects, the projects of the social cohesion, economic cohesion, and territorial cohesion. We cannot do everything, but we need which priority projects are important. And third, we have to find the funding from the European Union, from the state budget, from the city budget, from the regional budget, and then our future will be better as it is at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gajšek. It's time to, let's say, zoom in a little bit into the local perspective. I welcome to the stage Mr. Aleksandar Vasiljević, Deputy Mayor of the city of Velenje.
Prav prisrčen pozdrav tudi.
Welcome on my behalf as well. We are moving from the state level to the local level. It is important to be aware of the fact that Velenje is a relatively young city despite the fact that Velenje was first mentioned in the 13th century. But we have to understand the fact that Velenje was built with and because of coal mining. After the years 1950, we've seen an increase in the need for coal, and that meant that there was a need to extend the city. And the director of the coal mine Velenje and the president of the community, Zhang, saw that there was a need to increase the size of the city and to allow the coal miners who work in the mines to lead a quality lives in bright and beautiful apartments. And every second family in Velenje, in one way or another, was connected with the coal mine or with coal. I myself come from a worker family, and I'm a daughter of a coal miner, so I absolutely know what it means to eat black bread and what it means to say to my father, "Good luck, Dad, come back healthy." I just want to emphasize how important coal mining was and still is today. But despite all of that, we are aware of the fact and the need for a green transition, especially in the sense of a fair green transition, which means that absolutely no one is left behind. Velenje is today, as it was in the 1950s, facing many important challenges. And if back then the new city was being developed, our mayor today with his team and other mayors in the region as well are building an image of a new city. As part of a green and fair, and I emphasize fair transition, in the municipality of Velenje, we've identified several key projects which will mean a higher quality of living in our region. And you will be able to see that in the lobby of our cultural house. And this is the transition of the remote system and the Center of Future, which was once a heat power plant. And to conclude, I want to emphasize that we are facing great and important challenges, but in Velenje we have the knowledge, we have the energy, and we have the will to face these challenges and to use the synergy energy to tackle the era of a green transition, which will bring about well-being and the quality of living for everyone who live in the region. I want to conclude with the hello by coal miners that is still used today. I welcome you with the Velenje good luck.
Ms. Vasiljevic, srećno, and thank you for sharing your personal story and also emphasizing the human side of the transition. Last but not least, a short address by Carlo Della Libera, the Secretariat for Initiative for Coal Regions and Transition. I've known you for many years, so I'll also delegate to you the announcement of the coffee break after your intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregor. Thank you, everyone. I feel the pressure to keep you from the coffee break, so I'll try to be very brief. In the almost 6 years of life of the Secretariat for the Initiative of Coal Regions in Transition, we heard many interesting and inspiring stories. And we also had the opportunity to see it on the ground. And in the journey towards a just transition out of coal, communities ask themselves many questions. And an important and a big one is what do we do with the land and the assets that are linked to a coal economy? And it is not just a spatial planning question. It is also a question of identity, of cultural heritage, a community heritage that could be and should be used as an opportunity to to strengthen or recreate social bonds in order to reimagine the future of the communities. In these 2 days, so today and tomorrow, you will have the chance to see some of the examples from the ground on how communities are rethinking about the future. Some examples are already running for several years. Some others are more a vision for the future. And but I encourage you to just go outside this room during the coffee break and have a look at the nice posters that are out there. But most of all, to talk with the exhibitors. Ask them questions, share your doubts, get inspired. And the worst case scenario, you got to talk with very nice people. So it's always a good opportunity. We received quite a number of applications for these exhibitions, and I hope that we made a good selections, looking at the different geographies and looking at the different ways, different projects that are on the ground or in the mind of communities. We have examples from Poland, from Slovakia, from the Czech Republic, from Greece, from Italy, from Romania, Belgium, and Slovenia. But I'm sure there are much more examples here within this room, just by talking with each other. And in the end of the day, the opportunities to be here together is about talking to each other, share experiences, get inspired, and also talk about what did not work, perhaps. So look at the exhibition, talk to each other, enjoy the coffee in 1 minute. I still have to say a couple of things. Talking about the post-mining assets, stay tuned, as the Secretariat is preparing a toolkit specifically on this, on managing post-coal assets. So also thanks for those that sent the application for the exhibition, because this also helped in delivering preparing this toolkit. And obviously keep looking at our newsletter, follow the activities of the initiative. And one last thing, talking about heritage, you could see on the stairs coming up some posters. These are the graphic recording from the previous Endless Political Dialogue, so starting from 2019. And there's also a new one for 2025 and beyond. I encourage you to write your thoughts there. If you feel bold, you can also draw something, and we make sure also to use these for the future development of the initiatives. This is really it. Coffee break now. I think we will reconvene at 11:45. Is that correct? Yes. See you soon. Enjoy the coffee and the talking, especially.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. If I may kindly ask you to take your seats, we shall slowly proceed. A warm welcome also to the audience online. We can't see you, but we are sure you can see us. Let's continue with the event and maybe just briefly repeat some of the housekeeping rules. As mentioned, there is simultaneous interpretation available in English, Czech, Polish, German, Spanish, and Slovenian using the Interactio app, and you see the login details over there on the screen. We also have Wi-Fi available throughout the premises, and I'm sure you came around the login details yourself already. It's time to introduce the next session, which will be on energy efficient buildings and citizen empowerment. I welcome to the stage the moderator, Ms. Alicia Carrasco from Olivia Energy and Entra Agregación Flexibilidad, also Climate Impact Ambassador, to take over and moderate this panel. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to express great gratitude to the organizers of the event for the invitation, but also because they've done a great job until we are all here today. So thank you to all of you that have been organizing the event, and mostly for the invitation. So I'm going to be moderating the panel that is dealing with tackling energy poverty in coal-plus regions through energy efficiency of buildings and also citizen empowerment. It is estimated that 1 million citizens in coal regions live in energy poverty, 1 million citizens, and 300,000 are linked to coal-intensive industry. We know that in Europe, buildings account for 33% of greenhouse emissions and 40% of our energy consumption just in buildings. Therefore, increasing energy efficiency in buildings is high on the agenda of the European Union. Both the Energy Performance of Building Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive are designed to promote building upgrades. People in energy poverty and low-income houses should be given priority in member states' investment in energy efficiency and building renovation, including the future social climate plan funded by the coming social climate funds. It is clear that we have to decarbonize buildings, and also we need to have these buildings to emit zero emissions by 2030. But most important, we have to secure that most vulnerable consumers and populations don't carry excessive burden of the cost to meet these targets. Together with energy efficiency and building upgrades, promoting self-consumption and flexibility demand are also key to protect most vulnerable consumers. The Clean Energy Package, with the Internal Market Directive and the Renewable Energy Directive, have set out the guidelines to promote a more decentralized renewable energy scenario with active consumers, which led to an increasing use of clean and renewable energy, and also more and more consumer participation in the market. Today, we count with 5 great panelists that will share the context and expertise related to energy efficiency renovation projects, how to effectively support vulnerable consumers, empowering citizens to participate in the energy market, and how to pursue for the prospect for energy community in coal-plus regions. I am myself a Climate Pact Ambassador. The Climate Pact Ambassador is an initiative of the European Union, it's part of the Green Deal, and it's a space where you get together individuals, communities, and organizations that want to fight climate change. There are some tools that are available for the people that are part of the Climate Pact Ambassadors initiative, and what we have to do is to commit to something that we're going to do for climate change, and then to share and to spread and to disseminate what we are doing. Myself, my own goal as a Climate Pact Ambassador is to disseminate about the benefits of demand-side flexibility in universities and in energy communities. With that, I would like to introduce the panelists that will sit, and then we will welcome our main speaker. So our panelists are Natalie Bohemi. She's senior energy poverty policy expert, and she's the head of the Energy and Climate Action Department at the Cluster of Bioeconomy and Environmental of Western Macedonia. Thank you. Also, I would like to welcome Saruras Brüche. He's an economist of the European Investment Bank with over 20 years experience with EU assistance programs. He's the coordinator of the Target Technical Assistance Facility, and also he's very involved in the Jasper and Elena support program that he will tell us more during the panel. I will also would like to welcome Sven Mirik. Anik, I please ask you to pronounce your name better when you are on the stage. He's senior expert of the Society for Sustainable Development Design. He holds a PhD in philosophy and history of science, and he's supporting and working with citizens in empowerment, information and communication, mostly with citizens and in energy poverty or a risk of energy poverty. So welcome. We also have James Rotskoe. He's a consultant at Ricardo Energy and Environmental Consulting firm, and he's an expert in energy communities, having worked in several European projects. He's now working in a project that is promoting a platform for collective renovations and renewable energy installation. So welcome, James. And finally, we have also Lydia Civic. She's senior expert at Focus Association for Sustainable Development. She also has over 20 years of experience in managing projects of the European Union. She coordinated the project that ended in 2023, Empowerment, and she's very experienced in advocacy of policy and energy poverty work, both in Slovenia and at the European Union. So please welcome Lydia. And then before we go to the panel itself, I would like to invite Paula Pino. She's going to give us a speech to set up the scene for the panel that we are afterwards gonna run. She's the director at the DG Energy since 2021, and I think it's amazing what she's responsible for. She's responsible for just transition, consumers, energy security, efficiency, and innovation. She's Portuguese and a lawyer by degree. So welcome, Paula. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Alicia, for welcoming me here and for your work as Climate Pact ambassador. We really need more ambassadors throughout the European Union. And as we look at the energy transition, and we say, well, we need to ensure that the energy system is secure, that the lights stay on, that there are no blackouts, that it is sustainable. We want to decarbonize gradually our energy system, and it needs to stay affordable. And while doing this, we want to ensure it is just, it is fair, leaving no one behind. And as the Vice President added this morning, no one and nowhere being left behind. This means that we really need to prioritize the citizens, that citizens are at the core of this transition, and it very much comes down to them, which means to all of us, to really carry out this transition. So it's really about ensuring that everyone, everywhere, has access to affordable, to sustainable energy. This is the bread and butter of a just energy transition. And when we started with the coal regions and this initiative, which is bringing us all here today and which is really now building a community, and it's so nice to see that we come together, we greet each other, we remember ourselves, we are sharing a mission in terms of decarbonizing coal regions. This was the trigger back then in 2017. But as we've gone through an energy crisis with unprecedented high prices, which really hit everyone across the EU, we've seen that just transition is more than ensuring that people working in coal regions and energy-intensive regions really can benefit from a fair transition. At the end of the day, it concerned many citizens out there, even those who are not necessarily working in coal regions and who could not afford to pay their bills at the end of the day. And that's where what has been cited and quoted here this morning already in terms of the figures of people not being able to adequately keep warm in the winter their houses has significantly increased in the past years. Again, Vice President Šefčovič quoted the figure. We are now at 10.6% of EU citizens that were not able to keep their home adequately warm last year, which represents 45 million people. As long as there's one citizen in the EU who still has difficulties in keeping their house warm, and for that matter, cool in the summer, and we're seeing and we're living it here, summer's becoming warmer and warmer, and people still dying from heat, also because they cannot keep their houses cool, then there is work to be done. And that's where buildings come in. That's where the role that buildings can play in tackling what we call this energy poverty, which is precisely this inability by people to keep their houses adequately warm in the winter or cool in the summer, then that is precisely one area that we need to tackle, because, as Alicia reminded us, buildings still contribute to 36% of our greenhouse gas emissions in the EU and account for 40% of the energy use in the EU. So one of our areas is precisely to transform this sector of buildings, and also the core regions are no exception to it, because precisely this is also where economic, social, and infrastructural factors intensify the need for change. So what are we doing about it in the EU? And that is trickling down to the level of the member states in the EU. First of all, of course, the financing. And it's obviously a key factor, because, again, we are talking very often of those most in need. And here we have unprecedented means. For the bad reasons, we have to say. It started with COVID, which triggered the Next Generation EU, which then meant that member states had at their disposal funds of unprecedented volumes, and that are really being fed into energy efficiency measures, into renovation of buildings. And just to give you the example of Slovenia, Slovenia allocated 146 million euro towards renewable energy and energy efficiency, 86.1 million for sustainable renovation of buildings, and 48 million for circular economy. This is foreseen in Slovenia's recovery and resilience plan, and it's an effort to be applauded that these means are being channeled into renovation of buildings. Now, finance is one block. The other one is, of course, the legislation, the regulatory framework. And here at EU level, ambitious targets for energy efficiency have been set, saying that by 2030, we need to reduce our consumption of energy by 11.6% compared to 2020. But while doing so, again, we need to keep particularly in mind the vulnerable consumers, because this transformation does come with a cost. And it's something that cannot be overseen or denied. It comes with a cost, and therefore we need to support citizens in really going through this transition, notably when it comes to renovation. And we know in our own experience, if we want to renovate, it is costly. So obviously there needs to be also support in this sense. Now, the regulatory framework, I will mention a few. We have, for instance, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive, and they put a strong focus on alleviating energy poverty. How? Precisely by asking member states to prioritize the investments in energy poor and in vulnerable households. This is also the case with the Social Climate Fund. The Social Climate Fund is the result of the extension of the ETS to transport and to buildings. But we're saying all the revenues that we will come from these from this source should be reinvested and directed to those most in need, so that they can afford to renovate their houses, to renovate where they live. Other pieces of legislation are the electricity market design, the hydrogen and decarbonized gas market package, which aim to enhance consumer rights and protections in both the electricity and the gas markets. So just to give you some examples of legislation, which is now part of our common legislation, which is being transposed in all the 27 member states, and that will facilitate the renovation of buildings with a focus on the energy poor. But then we covered finance, we covered legislation, but very, very fundamentally, it's about behavior. And that's, again, where we come in. How we go about insulation, how we go about energy savings in our own house does very much start with our attitude to efficiency in our house, to savings in our house. So a lot needs to be done in terms of awareness raising, in terms of information, in terms of the very simple measures and practices that all of us can adopt at our places, and that can really bring consumption of energy down, with obviously the repercussions, the positive repercussions on our energy bill and on the ability to be able to enjoy comfortable houses. And all of this is pretty much underpinned by studies, by research. And to give you one example, a study from the Delft University indicates that by 2050, nearly half of all EU households, which means about 113 million homes, may have the potential to produce energy. So it's not just the way we consume energy, it's also our ability to produce our own energy, be it through the solar panels, be it through energy communities where we share the electricity that is being produced, for instance, through solar panel. And this is no longer science fiction. It is being rolled out with more and more popularity throughout the EU. So by providing these possibilities set in legislation, we're not just promoting changes or advocating changes, we are also facilitating these changes, but then it comes down to us to actually choose these measures and embrace this transition with very, very concrete acts. And just to share with you that recently we've organized in the European Commission a citizens' dialogue. And this was a dialogue precisely on energy efficiency. 150 citizens chosen randomly across the EU were brought together for 3 weekends in February, March, and April to discuss energy efficiency and to discuss what can be done and what each citizen can do. Extremely interesting discussion with a set citizens from all possible backgrounds, from the bus driver to the engineer to the doctorate to the teacher, really identifying what are the challenges, what is the potential, and how can we all contribute to it. And we, in this context, launched a citizens engagement platform, which is an online platform for people, all of us, all of you, to share their views, experiences, and ideas on the EU and energy efficiency. And as part of our work on really bringing citizens along, we organize an annual Citizens Energy Forum. The next one will be in Budapest, hosted by the Hungarian presidency in December, where we bring also the citizens' representatives to discuss in very concrete terms what can be done about this and how can we maximize the potential of energy efficiency across the EU. So I think our panelists will be able to really give very concrete input to this scene that I have just tried to set. And I hope that we come out of this session with the consciousness that we can all contribute. It's not just an issue for policymakers, for the governments, for the mayors, or for the industry. It's something to which all of us can contribute. Thank you very much, and a nice discussion.
Thank you very much, Paula, for your inspiring words and also setting the scene of where we are and how the things you name are the one that we have to look. We have the financing, we have the legislation ready. We know that it's a behavioral change that we have to know, and we also know that there are challenges and also potential, and that we all have to contribute. So I think it's perfect, the group of panelists that we are here to discuss. But taking all this into account and knowing that we are really have to take into account what is the level and the importance of energy poverty in Europe, And before we dive into our panel, I would like to reflect on this extent. So the number of people that find themselves in energy poverty growth by millions every year. And they can't warm their houses. And this is a very serious problem that we have in Europe. So we're going to do an exercise to check whether we've been listening to Paula and to Mario Shevkovic. And then I would like you to stand up when you hear the percentage of people in Europe who are currently living in energy poverty. So if you think it's 1%, just plain stand up. If you think it's 2 or 3%, please stand up. If you think it's between 10 and 11%, please stand up. Okay, if you think it's 15%, please stand up. So the figure that we are dealing with is 10.6 percentage of Europeans are in energy poverty in 2023. So this is a number to take into account. And with this number, we start our panelists with a number in mind. And I would like to start with Natalia Boemi. Your research focused on energy efficiency in buildings. Can you tell us about the impacts of energy efficiency policies and initiatives in reducing energy poverty?
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me here and for welcoming me here. Just to say a few words about me and about what we are doing in Western Macedonia. I started my research in energy poverty almost a decade ago as the first researcher granted from the national state about energy poverty aspects. And in Western Macedonia, we started recording the situation almost a decade ago with research via audits, in situ audits. So we were not just measuring and gathering economic data like we used to do about energy poverty, but in fact, we were going house to house, door to door, with a specific questionnaire based on previous research done from all around the world, trying to gather the data about energy poverty and how people are affected by that. So we are doing that for the last decade. I know it's really difficult because it's not economic data that you can find in EU Silk or economic data that you can find from national observatories, but they are data that you can find only by going door to door and by discussing with people and having specific questions to people about energy poverty. So now that we are in 2014 and we are discussing about, as Ms. Pino said, about promoting and facilitating changes, we are still discussing about how to gather data. Even though the new legislation about energy efficiency has finally defined what is energy poverty, there is an issue about there is an issue of what the states will do, what the EU members will do, and how they will define energy poverty in their countries. So, according to what we have done and what it is needed not just to find people, to engage people in gathering data about energy poverty, because that is the only way to find the hidden energy, to define and to understand the hidden energy poverty, which is the most important aspect, because energy poverty is identified as an impact also of the transition, and we are discussing here about regions in transition. So they have the most significant percent of hidden energy poverty. And Western Macedonia is in the top, so we are the winner. I'm really sorry for that, but that is the truth. And also, I'm aware that there is a need for really quick data, because based on those data, there will be the new regulation, new legislations, there will be the new decisions, but unfortunately, only the slow measurements will drive us where we want to go, is to define who are really energy poor, and after that to really engage them, to really educate them, and to really to achieve our goals about reducing energy poverty. Thank you.
Natalia. So the next question will be for Sanuras. Elena and Target are some of the joint European Investment Bank and DG Energy support instruments to scale up investment in clean energy infrastructure locally by providing the technical assistance to develop energy efficiency and renewable energy investment. Can you tell us more about the beneficiaries of those facilities and the type of sectors they support?
Yes, thank you for the question. Hello, everybody. It's again my pleasure to be back in Velenje and to be here and talk to you today. Yes, so the question relates to the two technical assistance instruments that we jointly have together with the European Commission, named Target and Elena. Both of them are dedicated to support the preparation of the energy efficiency or clean energy projects, and between them, of course, energy efficiency investments. One thing before talking about beneficiaries, I think it is important to mention that both of those instruments are, in most cases, I would say, free of charge beneficiaries, which allows them to basically to have to support the beneficiaries which might not have, let's say, the financial needs to prepare the projects, which means that we can address those which are in the most need of support. Talking concretely about who are the beneficiaries, I mean, the scale is quite large. I mean, we can start talking about from the regional, local public authorities, utility companies. We can go up to, let's say, depending on the facility, we can go to private banks or even private companies. I mean, it's a wide range of beneficiaries that can actually benefit from these instruments. The important part, which is actually true for both instruments, and Elena and Target, is that the beneficiary, and what we look for in the beneficiary, is that this is actually the right institution, entity being able to implement the projects afterwards. For example, under Target facility, I mean, before supporting or discussing the idea with the beneficiaries, if we support the project, we wanted to go further. So if we start supporting, we wanted to go further to get the financing. So, but it is important that the beneficiary would then be responsible for the implementation and be capable to do that. So it's not just some third party with a brilliant idea. I mean, we will not neglect those, but in principle, what we seek for is we look one step further so that actually the entities that we support have power as well to implement the projects as well. This might also relate to some specificities of the technical assistance instruments. For example, if we talk about Elena provides financing for the preparation of the projects. There are specific requirements that normally an investment program should be comprised with the amount of not less than 30 million euros. This might be a really issue or a challenge for a single project. Therefore, the support can be provided for a group of projects. But in terms of beneficiaries, what we need then is that entity that would be capable of combining or, let's say, coordinating several different entities, different beneficiaries that would be then implementing the project. So this has really impact as well on the type of the beneficiaries that could apply for support. Thank you. Stop here.
Thank you very much. So I will go to another question to you, Svornik. DOR is the Society for Sustainable Development Design, has been quite involved in the topic of energy poverty in Croatia. Can you share with us about the work that you are doing on this topic and the local and also at the national level?
Yes, thank you, Alicia, for your question, and hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here and to present our work so far on the topic of energy poverty. which, well, my organization exists for 21 years, but maybe like the real work started over 10 years ago when we did under a project, within the project REACH, we did the first data collection and analysis of energy poverty in Croatia, which happened in Sisak, Moslavina County, just east of our capital, Zagreb. At that time, we also managed to advocate for the energy poverty term to be included in the Third National Action Plan on Energy Efficiency. And later on, we did the first analysis of energy poverty as contribute to the first analysis of energy poverty in Southeast Europe, and offered recommendations of mechanism, tools, policies up to 2050 to serve as to prevent and alleviate energy poverty. We then did similar analysis for several parts of Croatia and like mapping the different regions of Croatia. We established the Center for Alleviating Energy Poverty in our office in Croatia, which was the first of its kind in the country, which was established in order to communicate energy poverty, energy efficiency, and sustainability, offer advice to individual counseling meetings and group counseling and workshops, all in to achieve the goal of communicating a topic of energy efficiency and energy poverty to citizens. We organized the first conference in Croatia on the topic of energy poverty, train energy advisors that organize simple energy audits for the past 10 years. We established two one-stop shops for energy renovation in Croatia, one in Zagreb, the other in the city of Križevci. We established an office in a mountainous region of Lika, which is kind of like a mixture between Center for Alleviating Energy Poverty and one-stop shop for energy renovations. We did countless brochures, handbooks, expert reports, several scientific papers, and keep updating our existing material and produce new materials, workshops, and as I said, like energy audits, working on SecUps in Croatia also. So yeah, a lot of things have been done in the past, let's say 10 years.
Okay, thank you. And congratulations for the work done. I will go to you now, James, asking about the project that you are coordinating, which is a support service for citizens, and you are targeting mostly energy communities. Can you tell us more about your experience on how you see the role of energy communities into contributing to reducing energy poverty? And also whether you see barriers, what are the barriers and the challenge for these energy communities when they want to engage in this platform?
Yes, thank you very much for having me here. So energy communities in general are collection action initiatives, and they enable local groups of actors to come together and collectively invest in and manage clean energy projects. So these can be municipalities, network operators, energy providers, SMEs, and NGOs, and they really participate in the energy market equally with other market players which are more conventional. And the proposition is that they focus on collective benefits for everyone involved, all the citizens, the members, the local community, and reach those vulnerable households which really need the support, rather than the individual profits which may be associated with a conventional fossil fuel industry. And so they elevate consumers, and they change them from consumers being quite passive into prosumers. So a prosumer is a consumer who also generates and also consumes the clean energy through either collective or self-consumption. So energy communities are really recognized in both the Renewable Energy Directive and the Internal Energy Market Directive. And through these, they are given a lot of financial mechanisms and support services, which enable them to really compete. So this is such as the simplified registration processes, reduced fees for guarantees of origin, financial incentives such as feed-in tariffs, funding opportunities which come from Horizon Europe and the Cohesion Fund, and technical assistance programs like citizen-led renovation, which I'm representing today. So yes, energy communities offer a very tangible solution to facilitate the local energy transition while contributing significantly to reducing energy poverty. They reduce energy poverty by providing affordable energy access through reduced energy costs. They also educate citizens on sustainable practices and energy efficiency practices. And the profits which they make from selling the energy can often be reinvested. So they're reinvested into developing new projects, which then further increases social acceptance of these renewable energy technologies, and also community development schemes. So really increasing that social cohesion and building the community of practice. So in the context of where we are now, energy communities are highlighted in the Repower EU plan, which aims to establish at least one energy community per municipality with over 10,000 residents by 2025. And studies have shown that EU citizens could be producing their own renewable energy by 2050, which would meet 45% of their energy demand. However, they need support, and it's crucial that we keep maintaining the support. The uneven implementation of the directives lead to variability in the types of support, depending on which member state you're in. There's a lack of awareness in general of energy communities, so we need to continue building capacity and participating in workshops. Financial constraints is a key issue, limited technical expertise, and reliance on voluntary efforts. So this is why programs such as the Citizen-Led Support Service are so crucial to providing technical assistance and giving them one-to-one support through experts to really develop their renovation journey. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, James. In Spain, we have something called Office for Technical Knowledge for Energy Communities. This is financed by the government, and it's also trying to do everything that you're doing through your project. So, Lydia, I have a question for you regarding the work you're doing in Focus, which is engaging and empowering different vulnerable groups into the sector. And there are some challenges and barriers that you for sure have encountered to ensure that they are in place when they are debating and discussing the energy sector, and also when they are asked to participate in sustainable energy solutions. Whether you can share this experience with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me here today. I'm very honored to be here today. Maybe I'll start with the energy communities. Like, we face numerous challenges. Like, really, it's very difficult to work with people affected by energy poverty, and I'll speak about them, but let me start with energy communities. Like, for example, we always think that involving people affected by energy poverty into an energy community, if we, for example, overcome the investment barrier by asking all the other community members to contribute, let's say 5 or 10% more for some families to be included that are affected by energy poverty. So we always think that if we bring them into energy community, problem is solved. But sometimes the problems actually start there, because sometimes people affected by energy poverty, they lose their social support if they're owners of assets, which being member of energy community is. So, like, yeah, we have to keep in mind that there are numerous challenges. And for example, even when we have the financing, it's not so sure that things are going to fly off. For example, Paula before mentioned that Slovenia is financing renewable energies and energy efficiency in Slovenia quite massively, which is really great. We also have a 25 million program for subsidies for energy poverty, which is really excellent. But there are situations that people still cannot access this money. Like, for example, the Eco Fund of Slovenia has a subsidy, 100% subsidy for renovating your flat in a multi-flat building. But to access this subsidy, you have to inform your building manager that you're qualified to get this subsidy. And most of the people, they are just ashamed to say in front of the entire building that they're so poor that they have to ask for a subsidy. And therefore, people simply don't even try to access this money which is available. So the lesson learned here is that we are working with people that are really marginalized by the society. They're really kind of like falling out of the society. They're very, like, they're trying to hide and be invisible because they're ashamed of who they are. Very often, there are various levels of illiteracy, be it energy illiteracy, be it general illiteracy. So we have to really work hard to get people to understand their energy consumption, understand how to access financing mechanisms, and so on. So yeah, this is one aspect of challenges we're facing. Another very important aspect is the distrust that a lot of people affected by energy poverty show towards institutions or towards companies. It's our experience that very often those most vulnerable are actually paying the highest bills because the companies are, sorry to say so, but really literally squeezing them. And of course, then they're distrustful. And this is why we have to also discuss, like we're discussing a lot about how to empower people, but I think we also have to discuss on how to regulate companies, because although liberalization brought a lot of positive aspects in some EU countries, it brought, I would call it wild, wild west when it comes to how companies can treat people in trouble. So I think we need to discuss this. And I would like to finish off by saying that energy poverty is a political choice. It's not a nature-given state. So I think we have a lot of tools and solutions in spite of all the challenges that I listed. We just have to decide that we're making an end to it. And I would say it's also a political choice not to discuss about the overconsumption of energy. Namely, for the last 2 or 3 decades, we're discussing energy poverty, those most vulnerable ones that are using the least energy and contributing the least to climate change, who are actually, in my opinion, the pioneers of green transition, and we should start to look up to them as if they were heroes for our society. And we're not discussing the ones that are abusing energy in abundance. And I think this is also a political choice, and maybe in the near future we need to tackle it. Thank you.
Well, I think, Lydia, you made very clear that you know how energy poverty works in reality and how people have to face things that in the program might sound very good, but when you go there and to try to implement it, it's the challenges are endless. So thank you for sharing this. So I will go again to Natalia and ask you for, you are awarded with the State Scholarship Foundation in Greece that is wanted to record energy poverty. And so during your research and through your experience, what do you think are the factors that should be included while measuring the impact of energy poverty?
This question, it has been already answered by Lydia, am I saying it correct? Because one of the most important factors that we should consider when discussing and measuring energy poverty are the social factors. So, okay, there are the economic factors, as I mentioned before. There are the demographic factors, which are really important, and based on that, we discuss about the data and the percentages about energy poverty. But the social factors that are also connected with health factors, environmental factors, are the ones that they are the most crucial one. And something that I would like to underscore is that education and health are interconnected. So as also James said, and also as Lydia said as well, it is really important to educate people in the direction of energy poverty, and because and as we from the data that we have until now, so our research showed that people that are really educated and that they have a higher level of degree, that have a higher education, are predicted to be happier, healthier, and live longer compared to the less educated counterparts, which was quite really impressive. And also they make healthier choices, they make more energy efficient choices. So having an energy community or having a one-stop shop operation in order to educate them, it will also assist in the gathering data, but it also assists in achieving what we want to do, is to do, as Delisa said, the political choices in order to tackle and alleviate the energy poverty. So, and concluding, I would like to underscore that that the social impacts, which are the most important one, because there are 3 issues when gathering data. There are the conceptual data, the expenditure data, and the direct measurements. So we have we must have a combination of all those data. We have done something similar. I have done something similar as an Energy Poverty Advisor Hub, a technical expert. We have tried to gather indicators and to gather data from all those three categories. And the results that produced in Greece, even though they were quite slow, because we have done only one research during the last 3 years about Western Macedonia, but they are really indicative of the situation. So so it is really important to have adequate social data and with the objective to develop and improve the social health infrastructures and access to any kind of services, especially when it comes to energy poverty.
Thank you, Natalia. We go to you, Sanuras, now to ask whether there are other technical assistance and financing opportunity from the European Investment Bank involved in supporting into the support of increasing energy efficiency in buildings.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, we are a bank, and often when you approach person and you introduce yourself, they perceive you, okay, you are a bank and you offer loans, but in reality, I'm very glad that in cooperation with the European Commission, actually we can propose a number of technical assistance instruments, which is a bit slightly different aspect of the activities, that we can propose these technical assistance support instruments to our clients, our beneficiaries, in supporting for preparation of, for example, energy efficiency projects. In terms of the support that is being provided, that is being proposed as an opportunities for support, it's actually the range is very wide, and we have a number of technical assistance instruments apart from, let's say, the core bank instruments that allow us to tailor, let's say, each individual assignment to the very specific needs of very specific situation in which a region might be, beneficiary might be. There is a number of instruments that we can work on, and then we can adapt, let's say, or choose the right instrument for each and every specific case. Talking about maybe just to categorize, if I may, the type of the support that is being provided, I can probably categorize them in three parts. So the first part would be the number of the EIB internal expertise, project preparation, project expertise that is available to you, is available to our clients, beneficiaries. So it's basically what I'm talking about: engineers, economists, state aid specialists, environmental specialists that are crucial for the preparation of the projects. And you can benefit from that knowledge gained in over 60 years of operation of the bank, and also working now actively in the just transition regions, in the coal plus regions. So this is one part of the support that is available, that is the expertise of the EIB. Of course, this expertise can as well be complemented by external experts, and we try to utilize a lot, especially when some local knowledge is necessary, to hire as well consultants to work with us to basically expand this value proposition for our clients. The other part, which is also related to the technical assistance, is, for example, the already mentioned technical assistance instrument ELENA, which provides financing, but in this case, not financing for the projects, for the implementation of the project, but financing for the preparation of the project. So this is again mainly grants with the 90% grants for the preparation of the project. So that could be as another opportunity for beneficiaries to benefit from this part. And of course, the last but not least, as a bank, there is a number of financial instruments, and of course, that provides funding for the implementation of the projects. So there are loans, direct loans, intermediary loans. We can work either directly, either through the intermediary banks, or there could be framework loans and other financial mechanisms that support energy efficiency investment. And as a climate bank, I mean, this is a priority area for us. So we put a lot of emphasis on this, and certainly this is one of the key areas where we focus our attention to. Thank you.
Okay, so I think sometimes we are not aware of all the assistance that you mentioned, but you mentioned technical assistance, financing for the preparation of the project, and also financing for the implementation. So yeah, we have a window to go when we are thinking about energy efficiency projects. So I would like to go to you as Mirik, in the sense of we've been hearing from Natalia and both from Lydia, and that there are many challenges for vulnerable consumers to tackle into informing them and getting to let them know about all the solutions that are available for them. Can you tell us how you have been approaching this topic and how you ensure that vulnerable consumers are well informed and capable to know what is available for them?
Yes, certainly. So I'd say that on the one side is knowing the people and knowing the vulnerable citizens and their problems. So having having constant and diverse approach to all the activities and events and whatever the resources that you have and that you use to educate and inform. And the other one that from my personal experience, that I found really important is having a rich and big connection with different stakeholders, which helped us a lot. And I think Lydia mentioned I don't know how did you put it, but like the people that you're dealing with are, let's say, shy, and then certainly they don't come running to us searching for information. And for example, in one of the projects, we tried reaching to charity organizations such as Red Cross that had a big and rich connections with the people that we were targeting, to do the first step, so that we don't come as someone like from the capital city who are like preaching something, so that have like really to ease the situation. Then we also try to disseminate a lot of like information also through like some kind of third parties, like the public utility companies that just slip some kind of information with the utility bills that they regularly share. And then we acknowledge that a lot of, especially in Croatia, a lot of our target population is older people who pretty much it's hard to get them out of the house, let's say, into some kind of like a meeting, workshop or whatever. So we try to look at like to have implement as diverse approach as possible. So like to go on local radio stations and like beg them to have like our like let's say like radio workshops there, like do on the local TV shows. So I'd say like having working on trust within the community is immensely important, and the other part is having a big and widespread network of connections with the pretty diverse stakeholders, from charity organizations to educational institutions, research institutions, public authorities, and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much. That's clear that the way you are approaching is always to get some stakeholders that can bring you to the people in energy poverty situation. So for you, James, I would like to ask you about whether you can introduce to the support service and tell us more about how empower citizens to actively contribute to the energy transition.
So the Citizen-led Renovation Support Service is an EU-funded scheme which aims to empower both emerging and established energy communities to meet their collective renovation goals and implement renewable energy systems. So it selects pilot projects and assists them to overcome various barriers, such as financial, legal, technical, and informational barriers to deliver future-proof residential buildings. So we do this by providing a range of technical assistance. So this comes in different packages and is agreed upon during the onboarding meeting. So we really sit down, we listen to the communities, we listen to what their challenges are, and we provide them with tailored support to really address those challenges and give them a one-to-one support service. So some of the examples would be an administrative support, so providing guidance on how to navigate complex legal and regulatory frameworks to help these communities establish and really manage their projects efficiently. We also help them to develop all the administrative structures and also legal forms. So even the emerging energy communities, we help them to develop themselves as energy communities to obtain all of the benefits, which I've previously highlighted. And then we connect them. So we connect them with a network of experts who provide expert advice on how to design and implement energy efficient systems tailored to each community. So these guys offer technical sizing of the energy systems. So for instance, photovoltaic systems attached to the buildings, and also develop energy audits and also provide detailed renovation plans which enable them to maximize their energy savings and provide benefits to the whole community. We also give them help with communication and outreach support, so giving them visibility for how they've succeeded in their projects, which attracts new members and really gets new stakeholders on board. So the community participation and stakeholder engagement is a crucial and fundamental part of energy communities. We also provide financial guidance, so unlocking those different funding opportunities which they might not be aware of, helping them to fill out those application forms, whether it's a subsidy, a grant, or even an investment. Once they obtain the finances, we also help them to manage and plan those finances effectively by developing stable and robust business models which suit their case. And then as a whole, we do develop a lot of workshops. We develop best practices and case studies to really help with the mutual learning within the program. And we also have a platform for knowledge sharing, which is on Futurium. And we enable stakeholders to connect with one another. So the citizen-led renovation is now into its phase 2. So we've just ended that open call, which received 75 applications from 19 countries across Europe. So we're very happy that we were able to provide technical assistance to those in need. And we also provide it at different maturity levels. So those that are ready to act and implement, they get the highest level of support. Those that are still shaping their ideas, we help them to get to the act phase following the support service. And then even the ones which, they have an idea, they have some kind of plans to implement, but they're not fully there, we let them explore their options. So yeah, I'm very proud to be representing the Citizen-Led Support Service, which does provide tangible benefits across Europe to energy communities.
Okay, that's also congratulations on receiving 75 applications. So I will have a last question to Lydia, but I will also invite you to start thinking what are the questions that you want to raise to the group of panelists that we have here after the Lydia answer to the next question. So Lydia, you're working on focus, and can you introduce the work that Focus is doing, which is the Association for Sustainable Development in Slovenia? What is the organization is doing in Slovenia and in Europe? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. Although our name would suggest that we're really focused, we are unfortunately not. So we're covering different fields such as energy, of course, because we're on this topic here today. Then we also cover the topic of transport. We work on the consumption and global responsibility issues. We also recently started working on degrowth. So yes, we're everything but focused, unfortunately, or fortunately. However, there is a red line through all these activities. We're tackling the sources or the causes of climate change. So all the fields that we're addressing, they're still addressing climate change. But not to bore you so much with all the activities we do, I would like to maybe zoom in on the energy poverty activities. Thank you, Zvonimir, for bringing out Project REACH. It's like really nice memories from 10 years ago. Yeah, since then we had a long line of projects. I would like to stop maybe with two of them. One is Empowerment, which finished last year. And there we worked in the Mediterranean region and with focus on women. And it was a very interesting project because we tried a few various approaches to tackling energy poverty. One was visiting households, which is something that Zvonimir already mentioned, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. And then three of them were more like, because visiting household, you work with one household at the same time. So it's like more kind of individual approach. Then we tried three approaches which are more like social sort of approaches. We had collective assemblies, which is a format where a group of say 15 to 20 people affected by energy poverty gathers together, and they actually exchange support, know-how, information with each other to support each other in tackling energy poverty. So they're not guided by an expert, they're experts themselves and they're supporting each other. The good or the benefit of this approach is that people can actually make a network and help each other in tackling energy poverty. They don't need someone to guide them. Then we also did do-it-yourself workshops, where again, people were showing each other simple measures to save energy, to address, for example, problems with the summertime energy poverty, like, for example, how to cool yourself, how to cool your house, and so on. And we also did the third measure that had more social aspect was the health workshops, where we actually had like some sort of like group psychotherapy, so to call it, where people worked with a therapist to overcome their anxiety and depression problems related to inability to pay their bills or to being in deep debts or something like that. Yeah, and I would like to conclude with focusing on the project which we're doing right now. It's a live project called Renoverty, and in another coal mining region in Slovenia, which is called Zasavje, we are trying to tackle rural energy poverty by elaborating renovation roadmaps. So we did energy audits in several households. Based on these energy audits, we're trying to make a plan how all the other households in the region and potentially also in Slovenia can renovate their dwelling and benefit from the measures, financial mechanisms that are available, bring together the stakeholders and so on. So yeah, thank you.
I would like to ask from the audience whether you have any questions you want to raise to the panelists. Yes, there is a question there.
Thank you very much for your very interesting contributions. I have a question whether you have some experience with transport poverty, because new social climate funds also tackle this issue. We are in the Czech Republic now preparing some analysis how to address this vulnerable group of people, and just we are thinking about what type of projects we could offer this group of endangered people that have a problem with transport, especially in remote areas, and just it's a new issue for us. So whether you have some experience about poverty in transport poverty. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. And in Focus, we are now busy for, I think, over 3 years in tackling mobility poverty. We started with the research project with 2 other institutes in Slovenia to form a definition. And then we also did some research into data and areas which are more affected. What we find out is that measures suitable for targeting mobility poverty are mainly focused on improving the public transport. So here it's either soft measures such as improving the information systems or making the schedules more compatible. It's also a bit more hard measures such as introducing new lines of buses or trains. What we looked into is also transfer on demand. We also call it just the village taxi. where you would have like small amount of vehicles available for people who have to go to the doctor and so on. We already have in Slovenia 2 groups which are offering services to different municipalities, which have elderly people as volunteers to drive a fleet of cars. And these cars are available again to the elderly and vulnerable people to go for different services, from the doctor to the administrative services to even visiting friends. This is a short overview, but if you're interested in more, I can then later give you our webpage, and we have some studies that we can share. Thank you.
We have gathered some data from the whole Greece, from the north part of Greece, I would say, about mobility poverty. The interesting part is that there is a different perspective. We have specific questionnaires based on specific indicators. If you are still using your car for fun purposes, or if you are still using your car for work, or if you are still using your car for traveling, what kind of transport you are using, and if you are owner of a car. So with a specific closed questions only. So what's interesting is that in Western Macedonia, they are still using the car even though there is a fuel crisis and even though there is an economic crisis. In Central Macedonia, it was more neutral, but in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, the people are facing major problems about energy poverty mobility. So, but if you compare those results with the educational aspect, as I mentioned before, then you will understand that people with higher education have higher salaries, so they are facing less energy mobility problem. At the moment, as Klube, especially for Western Macedonia, we're in the process of discussing issues about mobility because unfortunately, until now, we are using the car as less as possible or as much as possible. So there is no such issue as finding a solution about mobility transport. But we have the data, and we can find some, and we can have some really interesting results.
Thank you. Just a small comment also from my side. Under one of our technical assistant initiatives that we have named Jaspers, we have a large group of transport experts just working in the regions across EU. So I would really encourage to contact us, and I believe that we can propose something. So just very quick, thank you.
Since do you have any more questions? Yes, there is one here on the.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Mirna Karzan, Ecoris Croatia. Thank you very much for all of you for presentations. It was very interesting. I have one question for Sarunas, and also greetings to Zvonimir from his colleagues from DOR. DOR is actually a partner on the preparation of social climate plans in Croatia. So thank you for presentation. My question for Sarunas is, you said that beneficiaries are responsible for implementation of the projects. Can you, illustrate or on a concrete example, what is the process of when they seek the financial or technical assistance, what kind of capacity they have, and how do they gain that capacity so they are able to implement the projects in the end? So maybe kind of give us a concrete example if you can. Thank you.
Can we take one more question, and then there was also a question here on the beginning of the early, and then we finish with the questions.
Good afternoon. Balbina Gluza. Can you hear me? Yes, now. Good afternoon, Balbina Gluza from European Commission, DG Regio. I'm coordinator of Just Transition Platform, and actually I don't have a question, but rather information to the panelists and also the participants in the context of the technical assistance that you mentioned. because there is one more important tool that supports coal regions in transition, and it's Just Transition Platform. And we also organize, of course, technical assistance under this platform run by DG Regio that supports regions in implementing Just Transition Fund for different type of measures, including the energy efficiency measures. And many types of beneficiaries are eligible for this technical assistance. So not only regions, but also trade unions and NGOs and other types of beneficiaries. We currently support 16 regions in the whole EU, and at the beginning of next year, we will organize a new call for technical assistance. So please monitor our website and apply. There is technical assistance available for you through different instruments, and I'm very happy to see how many complementarities they are, and that everyone who seeks some support will be able to receive it. Thank you.
In terms of time, we have to stop the questions here, but we're going to be here for lunch, and they will be very happy to engage with the conversations over lunch. So if you want to respond to the question that we received before.
Yes, thank you for the question. So indeed, we had one case when the support from us has been requested by a private person who asked us if we can make a study about the potentially options for the district heating in one region. We said yes, we can do that, but I mean then it would be way better if a region can approach us directly, because if we do a study for a private person, the region might say that, I mean, yeah, sorry, but I mean, this is not interesting for us. Who are you and why you are here? Why you bring us the study? I mean, so this was the probably one of the concrete examples on how we've been approached by a third party, maybe, and that is actually on its own is not capable of implementing or does not have a capacity or legislative right to implement the project. In terms of the administrative capacity, let's say, and how we support that, there are basically normally two ways. When we work with the projects, I mean, we discuss a lot with our counterparts on a project, on what are the needs, how we believe this would be the best option to implement, what are the experiences from different countries. And this is already a capacity sharing event, also improving the administrative capability of the region's beneficiaries to implement the project. The other thing is, depending on the need, we can organize specific events. And I have another example on the very specific request that had came to us with regards to the energy audits. And we organized a seminar on not how to prepare the energy audits, but how to buy energy audits. Yes, so that's a bit of a different type of experience that you need to have. And then the focus point was a bit different, how to request from the consultants that are being hired to perform the energy audit. So how you should request that, what to look for, how to ensure that you have a high quality energy audit. So I hope at least partially answered your question. If not, as was mentioned, I would encourage to continue the discussion during the break. Thank you.
There was also a question about Croatia. No? Okay. So then with this, we are done with the questions. I would like to invite the Member of Parliament, Macet Nemek. Macet is the current member of the European Parliament from the Socialist and Democrat group. He just been re-elected for another 5 years, so congratulations. He served as the Vice President of Social Democrats in Slovenia, and he's also a member of the presidency of the Party of the European Socialists. His political priorities include addressing the cost of living, energy property, and the houses crisis. Also the EU enlargement policy, and he actively advocates for peaceful resolutions of conflict. So thank you very much. He's going to do the closing speech. So we are all yours.
Thank you so much, and warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to Slovenia. Welcome to Shailesh Kaval, and welcome to the city of Velenje. It's an honor for me and a big pleasure to be with you today, participating in such an important debate on combating energy poverty and coal dependent regions as the city of Velenje is, and of course, all the Saleshka Dolina. This discussion has been enriched by the outstanding experts. Thank you so much for being with us, who spoke before me. Therefore, let me just share some of my concluding remarks. It is no coincidence that the annual political dialogue is taking place in Velenje this year. One of the youngest cities in Slovenia, with a rich mining history, but above all, a pleasant place to live with a warm-hearted and hard-working people. Despite Velenje being a mining city, the people of Velenje can be proud of its home for taking ahead of its green transition. It could be an example for all Europe. Velenje has been selected as a climate neutral and smart city in the EU mission, acting as an experimental innovation hub to enable all cities in the EU to become climate neutral till 2050. Velenje also showcases its ambition by receiving the European Green Leaf Award in 2024, committing to becoming climate neutral, as I already said, already has been said, till 2030. In ambition, as a city transitioning away from coal as its primary energy source, Velenje is undergoing a significant transformation, as we can see. This makes it, in my opinion, the perfect place to discuss the future of the energy market, which must become more sustainable, green, and much more affordable for the people. Velenje, together with the whole Saleshka Valley, is facing a transformation of district heating and a transition to renewable energy sources. Both Velenje and the entire European Union urgently need to plan the renovation of residential buildings, as has already been said, as this the only way to address the sharply rising heating costs. These challenges have been discussed in detail by the previous speakers. Therefore, I would like to highlight that we must tackle them together, all of us, efficiently and in an environmentally and human-friendly manner. It is a fact that you, me, and all of us really rely on the energy on our daily lives. The big problem we face today is that more and more people across Europe cannot afford it anymore. Energy poverty arises when a household's energy consumption is so low that it harms health and well-being. It is primarily caused by high energy cost, low income, and poor energy efficiency in building and appliances. Facts speaks for themselves. 85% of EU buildings were built before the year of 2000, and of these, a big majority have poor energy performance. Energy poverty, affecting mostly private households, remains a significant challenge in the EU. So the COVID-19 crisis, rising energy prices, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 22 have worsened the situation for many EU citizens. And it's precisely us, the politicians and the representatives of the EU institutions and relevant authorities who carry a big responsibility to eradicate energy poverty and find tools for effective and prompt solutions. As I mentioned by the commissioned representative, EU has already taken significant steps forward. Last year, the EU Social Climate Fund was adopted in order to provide funding to EU countries to support vulnerable households and micro enterprises, along with the revised Energy Effective Directive to focus more on helping people dealing with energy poverty and empowering consumers. This year, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive came into force, aiming for a building buildings to be carbon neutral by 2050. So, dear participants, next week in the European Parliament, we will mark the beginning of a new 5-year mandate, and it is crucial that all EU institutions, the Parliament, the Commission, and the Member States remain committed to the green transition, is fair for everyone, and it has to be also socially just. So regions like Velenje, transitioning away from coal, could be really negatively effective if the transition is not fair. The Union must stand by their side on this journey and ensure a better future for all of us, for all the people of EU. Today, I pledge, as a member of the European Parliament, and in particular as a member of the Social Democrat family, believing in a socially just green transition, to keep on fighting the energy poverty and to improving lives of our citizens. Because, and that's very important, no one should ever have to choose between eating or heating. And it is our job to make it sure. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for the closing remarks. I would like also to close the panel, saying that I feel that this deserves a 2 hours workshop just to keep debating with them, because I think there is a lot of knowledge that they share with us, but also a lot of actions and recommendations they can put on the table. So I suggest the Commission to take this offer of doing a workshop on really gathering all the information that is here on the table. And what I will say as a closing remarks from what I heard today is that the energy poverty is a main challenge in Europe. There are around 11% population in energy poverty in Europe. Warming and cooling ourselves should be a right. We have from the European Union a very clear proposal on financing, legislation, and initiative with engage with citizens. There are also, as we've seen here today on the table, local efforts for European projects, EU projects, for the European Investment Bank, but also for local activities like we have seen with Lydia and Natalia. But it's not easy. Energy poverty is not an easy issue. It's a very complex issue. We said that energy poverty is a complex situation, and it's not always easy and straight to approach it. The same way the electricity sector is complex. We have curtailment. There is electricity generation, renewable electricity generation that is stopped to generate in countries. Why we have energy poverty? I think this is something we have to take into account. And also it's clear that energy efficiency, renovation of buildings, and consumers' participation in the market is key for the future of tackling energy poverty. I would like to give an applause to the panelists, and also thank you to you. And I would like to invite the masters of the ceremony of the day to conclude and to give us the indications of lunch and the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alicia, for a wonderfully done job moderating the panel. Just before I let you off the hook, I have to congratulate you on 2 things. First of all, thank you for emphasizing the individual, the consumer, the citizen, and also the behavioral aspects related to the transition. And secondly, thank you for following up on my plea to have a 100% tie-free panel. It was partially supported by the gender balance on this panel, but I think it feels a lot more comfortable this way. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and you may take your seats now, and I will quickly run us through some of the logistics. So in order to deserve the lunch, we just have to have some more information on what happens later today. It's purely logistics, so for our online audience, thank you very much for participating. This is not relevant for you, and we welcome you again tomorrow as of 9 a.m. So first of all, the site visits, as you see, The departures will be at 2:45 from Hotel Paca, which is just around the corner. The buses will be adequately marked, numbered, and labeled. Bus number 1 will be departing to the thermal power plant Sostan and the district heating system. The participants have an orange sticker on their badges, so this is how you recognize the group you're in. Bus number 2 will depart to the coal mining museum, underground museum and business zone Staravas, and will visit also the old power plant. Those participants have a black label on their badge. And finally, the bus number 3 will be departing to the revitalized, degraded area Lake Velenje and Vista Park, where we also have dinner later on. It will be marked with green, and you have green labels on your badges. The drop-off will be after the visits at 6 o'clock at Hotel Paca, and one of the buses then will also be continuing straight ahead to the Terme Dobrna, where some of you are staying. It will be bus number 3 with the green mark. Moving on, the cocktail and dinner. The venue, as I mentioned already, is Vista Park with a view. Start is planned at 8 p.m. tonight. The location is pretty close. It's about 15-minute walk. So if you decide to walk in this heat, I encourage you to do so. Otherwise, there will be shuttle services provided, leaving at 7:30 from both Terme Dobrna as well as Hotel Paca. There is also a public bus available, but most probably, in case we finish late, it will only be able to take you in one direction, but as I was told, it is free of charge. To get back to the city, again, you can decide either to walk or take the shuttle buses, which will depart at 11, and there will be people on the ground helping you out with that. Some announcements for day 2. So tomorrow, the conference starts as today at 9 a.m. Registration starts as of 8:30. Do keep your badges with you. They're valid for both days. The transfer from Terme Dobrna will be at 8:30, bringing you here to the venue. Some of you are leaving tomorrow already for the airport. For those of you that will check out tomorrow, bring your luggage with you. There will be a safe room for keeping and storing your luggage. And of course, don't hesitate to check with the organizing team. It's the gray badges. Feel free to check in if some of the details are unclear. And finally, I invite you for lunch, which will be served just outside of this room. There is a high-level seated working lunch organized separately by invitation only. The people that are invited to that event will be escorted by Margarita. She is just over there, so you can recognize her. And then she will be waiting for you in front of the entrance to the building, just outside. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for today. And I wish you a bon appetit.